You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 921. Chapter 921, Chapter 227 Memory Fragments, 1. Senior Wang, Chen Ming, you guys stay here. I'll walk further. In the pit of 10,000 races, Su Yu turned around and looked at the two people whose faces were slightly pale. He said with a smile, I've already reached level 2 of the Killing Word Divine Script. I need to go deeper to take a look. You two can stay here or go out and wait for me. Su Yu, this. The two people took the money and accepted the mission. Was it inappropriate to stop here? Su Yu said with a smile, it's okay. The two of you, I have the kill character and the blood character. The murderous aura here doesn't affect me, but it does affect you a lot. Wang Zhishan said somewhat awkwardly, then. Thank you, junior brother. They really couldn't go any further. If they went any further, it would be easy for them to get into trouble. However, after taking the money, they agreed to accompany Su Yu. Su Yu smiled and said, the two of you can temper your willpower here. It's also beneficial. This place is more suitable for training your killing intent. The two of them nodded. This place was indeed not bad. Tempering one's killing intent was a good choice. There were other people here, but they were all looking for a place to temper themselves. No one interacted with them. Su Yu was still in awe of the people below. Some of them had fallen into the deep pit and were cultivating. They were not afraid of the stench of corpses. After leaving Wang Zhishan and Wang Zhishan behind, Su Yu was even faster. As he walked, he said in a low voice, that woman just now, did the two of you discover anything? 7th level of the Soaring Sky Realm, fighter, not a civilized master. This was the voice of the shadow. In the next moment, the voice of the water man came from a droplet-shaped accessory on his chest, that woman's strength is not weak, but it is not the key. But that child. After thinking for a moment, the water man said, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Su Yu was puzzled. He really did not see anything wrong. The water content is different. Su Yu didn't understand, the water man explained in a low voice, that might not be a child. The water spirit race has a very obvious sense of fluid. People of different ages don't understand the water content. This is especially obvious for your human race. The younger you are, the more water content you have. That child, the water content in his body is not something that a child should have, but something that only adults have. Then, Shuiren continued, I didn't find anything specific because there was a person floating beside me, so I didn't sense it. I could only sense the amount of water. According to my estimation, he might be 40 or 50 years old, or even older. However, the water in a cultivator's body will change, so I didn't sense it too clearly. Su Yu was deep in thought. It might not be a child. He wasn't surprised. Let alone the world of cultivators, even if it was an ordinary person, it wouldn't matter if an adult looked like a child. There were too many possibilities in the world of cultivators. For example, among the students of the Divine Inscriptions department from last time, there was someone who had mastered a transformation divine inscription. It could be enlarged or shrunk. It's not a child. Su Yu smiled. This was interesting. The soldiers knew the other party. Obviously, the other party had been here for a long time. He was a local tycoon. But the other party's child, could it be an adult? Su Yu really did not notice anything wrong. That child looked no different from an ordinary child. He was just a little cold. He had thought that it was caused by injuries. Now, it seemed, that it was not easy to speak. What is the strength of the Dragon Martial Guards stationed here? There is a 9th level of the Soaring Heaven Realm. The shadow quickly replied. The 9th level of the Soaring Heaven Realm was not weak. Stationed here in the pit of 10,000 clans, it represented the Xia family of the great Xia family. Even the mountains and seas would not dare to cause trouble here. However, the 9th level of the Soaring Heaven realm probably would not investigate a young woman who was also in the Soaring Heaven realm. This was a provocation, unless the other party was a suspect. Suyu didn't say anything else. He continued to walk deeper. 2 Soaring Heaven realms. It wasn't a big deal. He even brought along 2 Lingyun. However, he still had to be careful. He didn't want to be tricked. As he continued to move forward, the pressure became greater, and the murderous aura became denser. He couldn't see the surrounding roads clearly anymore. They were all blood red. Resentment. In his sea of consciousness, the blood word began to vibrate, dispersing the blood mist. It didn't absorb it. This resentment wasn't beneficial to the divine inscriptions. The thunder character also jumped out. Lightning flashed around Suyu. This was also a way to train the divine text. As he trained the divine text, Suyu moved forward. In front, there was someone. When he heard the movement, a voice came from the front. He said in a muffled voice, "Students of Zhangjin College are cultivating. Don't disturb." "Sorry." Suyu smiled and didn't say anything. He bypassed the other party. He could not be bothered to probe the other party since he did not see his exact appearance. He did not want to be seen as a provocation and cause trouble for himself. The man spoke with more kindness when he saw him taking a detour. He said, "Don't go any further. Ahead are the corpse dumping areas of the top-tier experts that you have killed. Although the Yuan Qi is dense and the willpower is dense, the baleful aura is mixed. It's best not to even absorb the Yuan Qi. Killing a top-tier expert caused the Yuan Qi to overflow. Just like the Blood Fire sect master that was killed that day, it satisfied the cultivation of many people. Of course, the Yuan Qi had long dispersed after the experts here were killed. Some remnants gathered and formed the blood baleful aura of this place." Hearing the other party's reminder, Suyu hurriedly said, "Thank you senior brother for your reminder." The other party was a student, which meant that he was not soaring in the air. Suyu was polite, so he naturally had to address him as senior brother. Hearing this, the man was also a little surprised. "You're also a student of the Institute of Civilization?" "Yes, from the Institute of Civilization." "The Institute of Civilizations? 9 days? Or Great Xia?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 922. Chapter 922, Chapter 227 Memory Fragment, 2. Great Xia Civilization Academy. The man was a little surprised and said, "You can still be so calm even after coming here. Top 100 students." Suyu smiled and said, "I guess so." "Which academy is senior brother from?" "Great Xia War Academy." They were both students of the academy. Although the two families were not on good terms, it was not a deep hatred. The man was also a little more friendly. He smiled and said, "You civilized masters have many tricks up your sleeves. I won't advise you, but junior brother should be careful. In this place, in the huge pit below, there are mountains and seas buried. If you go any further, there are still sun and moon tier cultivators. Although the sun and moon tier cultivators aren't much of a threat, you should be careful of the murderous aura attacking the Sea of Will. Thank you for the reminder, senior brother." Suyu thanked him again and didn't say anything more. He continued to walk forward. After he left, a young figure appeared in the blood mist. He was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, had three-dimensional facial features, and had a short haircut. The man looked suspiciously in the direction where Suyu had left. He could vaguely see a wisp of white. He was very strong. Even he felt that he could not take it any more here. Yet, the other party was still able to continue walking forward. Zhang Hai has made a breakthrough. I know Zhai Feng, Jiang Mu, and the others. This fellow. As the man thought of this, a name flashed across his mind. Su Yu. New student Su Yu. Was it him? I didn't expect to meet him here. The man smiled and felt a little regretful. He could not participate in the Battle of the Two Manors this year. Otherwise, he would really have to witness this new king who was rumored to be the talk of the town. However, he might be able to take a look at him then. The junior brothers and sisters of this batch were in trouble. This fellow seemed to be a vicious person as well. He did not have the slightest reaction to such a dense killing intent. The man did not think any further and continued to sit down cross-legged to cultivate. In front. Su Yu turned around to take a glance as well. He raised his eyebrows slightly. It was an expert, and he should be a student ranked near the top of the 10,000 stone roll. He had gained a lot of insight. The other party's concealment ability was not strong, but Su Yu's willpower was strong. Even if he did not intentionally sense it, he could still sense the concentration of Yuan Qi in the air. There were at least 108 apertures, and he had even attained the consonant aperture realm. It was likely that he was a fellow who had attained the consonant aperture realm at least 108 apertures. Su Yu did not think too much of it. At this moment, he was enveloped by the blood mist. As he continued walking forward, the pressure on him increased, and his sea of consciousness suffered a slight impact. However, he met Su Yu. Just as the blood mist approached his sea of consciousness, the small hammer smashed down, and the blood mist instantly disappeared. It didn't have much of an impact. Since he was already dead, this bit of impact after death was only a so-so. As he walked further and further away, Su Yu gradually felt the presence of some pressure. Without saying much, he directly jumped into the large pit below. In the large pit, it wasn't as rotten as the previous section. This was a place where the corpses of experts were piled up. Killing experts wouldn't be able to kill many in a year. Sometimes, killing one in a few years would be considered good enough. The 10,000 races directly used them. Only the human race of the 10,000 races wouldn't take away the corpses. As he stepped on it, a dry bone was stepped on. It didn't break, but it was still tough. Su Yu didn't look at it too much. It looked like it had been many years, and it wasn't the corpse of that heavenly divine sect master. That guy had been killed for more than half a year. It was the sun and the moon, after all. Perhaps the corpse hadn't rotted yet. After taking a few more steps, Su Yu's small hammer became more and more active. He hammered at the blood mist. The blood mist here was mixed with some aggression and eroded the sea of will. Those who weren't at the soaring sky realm wouldn't be able to come here. Even if they were at the soaring sky realm, they would be around the same level as Su Yu and would have to bear a huge pressure. Without the small hammer, Su Yu would not be able to deal with it so easily. The shadow under his feet seemed a little special at this moment. There was no sunlight here, and there was also a shadow. It was not normal. However, ordinary people would not pay attention to it and would not pay attention to it. After walking for a few hundred meters, as the pressure increased, an empty space suddenly appeared in front of Su Yu. A vacuum space. A headless corpse was thrown onto the ground. At this moment, the surrounding blood mist was repelled by the headless corpse. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. No head. Xia Longwu was really ruthless. Why did he chop off a person's head? He would die without a complete corpse. No one knew where his head had gone. A Sun-Moon Realm warrior had the ability to be reborn from a drop of blood. However, Xia Longwu was too strong. His blade had wiped out all of his life force, including the life force in his blood. Even if the other party was reborn, he would not be able to be reborn. At this moment, the Shuren suddenly trembled and suddenly said, "So strong." It was not the cult master who had been killed, but Xia Longwu. He killed a sun moon with one blade. Just like that day, he killed the blood fire cult master with one blade. The Shuren said solemnly, "Don't get close. This corpse, you might not be able to move. The blade energy is contained within. Mansion Master Xia is too strong. Once the blade energy spreads out, you will be killed." Suyu said in a deep voice, "I know. It's fine. The heaven-cleaving saber that I cultivate has the same source of saber chi, it won't be a big problem." He also knew the problem and did his homework in advance. Xia Longwu killed the other party using the heaven-cleaving saber. It was the same source of saber chi as him. If they were not enemies, the saber chi would not be able to hurt him. Suyu slowly approached. The 144 openings of the heaven-cleaving saber emitted light. Saber chi condensed. Body protection. He said that he was not afraid, but he still said in a low voice, "The saber chi is really going to explode. You two hold on, I'll run." The Aquaman and the Shadow were speechless. He was not a human. He would die. An expert who was close to being invincible was emitting saber chi, and it was a saber chi that could kill the sun and moon. The two of them could not block it. This bastard, if he did not want to live, the two of them would kill him right now. And at this moment, Suyu was getting closer and closer to the body. The next moment, a flash of knife light appeared on the body and instantly slashed towards Suyu. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 923. Chapter 923, Chapter 227 Memory Fragment, 3. Fast. Extremely fast. However, as soon as the blade light approached the top of his head, it instantly retracted. As if sensing something, the blade aura spread out. Suyu's entire body was already covered in cold sweat. How terrifying. Just now, he was completely unable to move. This blade light almost killed him directly. As for the Shadow and the Water Man, they actually didn't make any movements. You. Pooh. Before he could finish, the Shadow suddenly appeared under his feet. Even though Suyu couldn't see its face, he could feel its helplessness and powerlessness. "Sir, it's not that we can't make a move, we can't make a move." It was only shaken by the aftershock and was directly pushed out of Suyu's shadow. It was terrifying. At this moment, both the Water Man and the Shadow were powerless. Xia Longwu. A supreme expert, an existence that was close to being invincible. If placed in the 10,000 worlds, he was also an overlord of a region. He really could not be provoked. At the same time. Great Xia Manor, City Lord Manor. In a secret room, Xia Longwu was reading a book. Suddenly, he turned his head to look in a direction, the direction of the pit of 10,000 races. A moment later, he asked in surprise, "What is he doing there?" He seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed. Was he planning to obtain the treasure of the Heavenly Divine Sect? He sure had guts. That day, the sect master of the Heavenly Divine Sect wanted to use this to survive, but Xia Longwu couldn't be bothered with him and killed him with a single slash. After that, he also had people search for the other party's treasure. After they didn't find it, he didn't pay too much attention to it. To him, there was no guarantee that any treasure would be real or fake. Even if there was, it was not worth mentioning. How many good things could the Heavenly Celestial race give to these lackeys? Xia Longwu was somewhat interested in their master's treasure, such as raiding the Heavenly Celestial race's lair. Of course, this was not very likely. The other party also had an invincible existence. You have quite the guts. Aren't you afraid of accidentally killing you? Xia Longwu chuckled. Most people wouldn't dare to touch the corpse even if they knew that his saber chi was there. If the members of the Myriad Clan sect moved, they would be killed as well. They deserved it. Suyu had cultivated the heaven-splitting blade, so there wasn't much of a problem. He continued to read and ignored him, allowing Su Yu to do whatever he wanted. Once he found it, the thing would rot in the pot. That was also someone from the Great Xia mansion. If he couldn't find it, that was Su Yu's own business. Xia Longwu no longer cared about him and continued to read. Cultivating one's body and mind was the path of a civilized master. He still wanted to try entering the sun and moon. At this moment, in the pit of 10,000 races, Su Yu's cold sweat dripped down. However, it wasn't that he didn't gain anything. In his sea of will, the blade word divine text flickered, and the kill word divine text also flickered. It seemed to be absorbing something. This was a blade that was close to an invincible expert. Although it was only a remnant, it still caused some stimulation to the divine text. Without the saber chi, this dead sun and moon was nothing more than this. Su Yu took another step forward. He no longer had that oppressive feeling from before. Without his head, he did not look much. The literary soldier appeared and slashed through the air. Even if the person was dead, the opponent's physical defense was extremely strong. The slash actually did not pierce through. Shui Ren quickly said, "Extract blood from the neck wound." Su Yu also thought of it and hurriedly asked, "Does he still have blood?" "Yes." "That's good." He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The blood word was activated and blood mist began to be extracted from the extremely smooth broken neck. Shui Ren was also very good at this. Seeing this, he asked, "Do you need my help?" "Do it." Shui Ren did not say much. He only saw that the blood mist's penetration speed increased. A moment later, a drop of blood condensed in the air. However, it was not blood essence. Only by condensing a little more can we condense more blood essence. The waterman said this and guessed what Su Yu was going to do. However, he did not ask anything. Extracting blood essence was the norm for all races. Gradually, 1 drop, 2 drops. The blood was extracted 1 drop at a time. It did not have much vitality. It had been cut off by Xia Longwu a long time ago. The blood underling seemed to want to absorb it, but Su Yu did not allow it to do so. When it came to essence, blood and memories, this was the use of waste. Absorbing human blood. Su Yu resisted. Even if the blood of a sun and moon might allow the blood underling to improve quite a bit, he still resisted and did not need it. When he extracted more than 10 drops of blood, Su Yu's blood word trembled and began to condense essence blood. The aquatic man said again, "I can condense it too, and it will be faster." Su Yu was speechless. What about snatching the job? However, it was a good thing that the aquatic man was willing to contribute. He did not say anything and quickly said, "Then get to work." A few minutes later, a drop of blood essence was condensed. Su Yu waved his hand and the blood essence entered his hand. "Help me keep an eye on it. Let me know if anyone comes." Su Yu instructed and began to split the blood essence and extract the memory fragments. After Bai Feng taught Su Yu that day, Su Yu used the soul-devouring worm's blood essence to experiment many times and also succeeded a few times. Of course, the success rate was not high. There were no instruments here, so the success rate might be even lower. Su Yu did not care. At worst, he could just extract some blood later and try condensing a drop of blood essence. This was the first time Su Yu had seen a human's blood essence. It was not like the other races, where there were human figures flashing inside. Perhaps it was because of the innate skill, but the human race did not have an innate skill. First, they peeled off the outer layer of the blood essence, then they split the memory fragments and the innate skill fragments. Humans didn't have any innate skills, so it was easier to split them. Half an hour later, Su Yu was covered in sweat. He carefully opened the blood essence, revealing a small piece of black substance. This should be the memory fragment. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 924. Chapter 924, Chapter 227 Memory Fragment, 4. It was a good thing that there was no talent skill fragment. However, there was still some resentment and death aura in the vicinity of this memory fragment, so he had to eliminate it. After another half an hour, Suyu finally managed to extract a somewhat transparent little shadow. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He had succeeded. Fortunately. It looked like even if I removed the blood essence hundreds of times, it was not for nothing. Without saying another word, Suyu shot out a wisp of yuan qi to destroy the tiny shadow. The next moment, a blurry image appeared in front of him. In the image, there were two people. They were both very blurry. Their faces could not be seen clearly. Suyu compared them. The person on the left should be the sect master of the Heavenly Divine Sect. He had not even changed his clothes. The person on the right could not be seen clearly. What the two of them were talking about could not be heard. Suyu ignored them and looked out of the image. The two of them seemed to be in a palace. Whether it was a palace or not, he wasn't sure. In any case, Suyu remembered what it looked like. After chatting for a while, the screen changed. The person on the right extended his hand and patted the Heavenly Divine Sect Master's shoulder. Suyu didn't pay much attention at first, but he suddenly froze. The person on the right extended his left arm, and there seemed to be a pattern on his small arm. Suyu focused his eyes and looked over. His vision blurred, and the scene suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, the Heavenly Divine Sect Master appeared alone in another place. He held a box in his hand and solemnly placed the box on a table. Then, he retreated. Treasure vault. Suyu was startled. There really was a treasure vault. Where was it? The memory fragment only recorded the things with the most obsession. The Heavenly Divine Sect Master was most obsessed with talking to that person. Next, it shouldn't be the treasure vault, but the box. And then? Suyu opened his eyes wide to look. I only saw the treasury, what's the use if I can't see the position? The human realm is so big, where do you expect me to find it? And the scene flashed by when the sect master of the Tianyi Divine Sect withdrew from the treasury, and then, it was gone. F***ck. Suyu couldn't help but curse. F***ck. It was gone. It was gone just like that. The scene came to an abrupt stop. Everything was gone. Just as Suyu was cursing out loud. In a huge palace. A powerhouse who was cultivating suddenly opened his eyes and turned his head to look somewhere, muttering, spying on me. His eyes moved, as if he was trying to see through something. As he looked, a blade light appeared in his eyes. Poochie. Blood dripped from his eyes. With a tick, the blood fell to the ground, emitting black smoke. Heaven-splitting blade. He muttered again. This was not Xia Longwu's blade. It was just a brief exchange in the past. What the expert saw was the blade that Xia Longwu used to kill that day. Close to being invincible. No. He might already be invincible. He muttered again. Very powerful. He smiled and did not bother about it anymore. What could he pry out by spying on him? At this moment, in the city lord's manor of the great Xia prefecture. Xia Longwu frowned slightly. What did this brat touch? He had already disturbed the past and touched the invincible domain. Fortunately, it was only for an instant. Xia Longwu's thoughts flashed through his mind, but he couldn't find anything. He shook his head helplessly. His strength was still lacking, but he could sense something. As for the specifics, he didn't find anything. He looked in the direction of the pit again. Is it related to the Heavenly Divine Sect? The invincible realm of the Heavenly Divine Race? Or something else? It was hard to guess. Suyu might know something, so he asked the little fatty at home to ask. At this time, Suyu didn't care so much. He cursed for a while. He looked depressed. The shadow said faintly, the moment he came out, there were still some images. He should be in a mountain. Suyu said gloomily, I know, but it was just a flash. How can we find him? It's hard to say whether he's in the Great Xia Manor or not. The Heavenly Yi Divine Sect was not active in the Great Xia Manor. This might be the territory of another great manor. The human realm is so big, so I know it's a mountain. How can we find him? The shadow said faintly, it might not be in another great manor. According to what you said before, the other party went out in full force and entered the Great Xia Manor. Could that treasure house still remain in the previous territory? The other party probably has the intention to stay in the Great Xia Manor for a long time. That's hard to say. Suyu said gloomily, I think it's too simple. The other party's treasure house might have long been emptied by the Heavenly Yi celestial race, or moved away by some remnants. Or perhaps, what I saw was the treasure house from before, and then moved away. He realized that he had indeed thought it too simple. It was not something that could be found just by seeing it. Let's give it a try. Suyu sighed, but he wasn't too discouraged. He muttered, maybe we can find it. I saw some plants. I hope that these plants grow in a specific place. Some I haven't seen before. I'll check it out later and maybe I'll find something. The moment the sect master of the Heavenly Yi Divine Sect came out, Suyu saw a mountain. It wasn't too tall, very ordinary, and didn't have any obvious features. However, he did see some plants. He hadn't seen some before. That meant that it wasn't a common species. Perhaps he could use this to find the location of the treasury. Overall, it was considered smooth sailing. At least he saw it. Furthermore, the sect master of the Heavenly Yi Divine Sect was most obsessed with conversing with someone. Who was that person? An expert of the Heavenly Yi Divine race. The other party's identity should be higher than the sect master of the Heavenly Yi Divine Sect. Patting his shoulder, this was usually the action of a superior to a subordinate, right? A sun and moon being casually patted on the shoulder. The other party could be the sun and moon, or even more powerful. There's a pattern on his left arm. Suyu memorized this important information and had some vague thoughts in his mind. According to his previous guesses, the Heavenly Yi Divine Sect had entered the Great Xia Mansion to deal with Xia Longwu, and there was some other meaning behind it, forcing Lu Wenyan to quickly soar into the sky. Perhaps they wanted him to conjure a divine text. That fellow from the Heavenly Yi Divine Sect might have been influenced by the invincible that they had always guessed. Was that so? Was that possible? Could it be that the person who had spoken to him previously was the invincible that had betrayed him? There are patterns on his arms. At the invincible realm, it wouldn't be a problem for him to reforge his body. Forget about being invincible, even the sun and moon would be fine. Since the patterns on the other party hadn't been removed, did it have some special meaning or was it a personal preference? Or was it simply a symbol? Could it be that this fellow is the one who schemed against us? Suyu thought to himself, but he quickly forgot about it. Don't think about it. If he really was invincible, even if he knew who it was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to the other party, and he wouldn't have any evidence either. Could it be that he had to find the Emperor of Great Xia and ask him to casually kill an invincible realm expert? Stop fooling around. The Emperor of Great Xia isn't your father. And that box. Even the sun and moon are paying attention to it. What's in it? Have you used it? The more Suyu thought about it, the more he felt a headache coming on. Forget it, let's talk about it when we get back. He wanted to search for the place. Perhaps it was in the Great Xia Manor. If he couldn't find it, he could ask the others in the research institute. Go back. You guys continue to hide. I hope that someone jumps out. Su Yu curled his lips, but he still had to be careful. A voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. Fatty, come and pick me up later. But be careful, don't let anyone see you. Bring a powerhouse with you. Xia Huyo quickly replied, there are enemies. I don't know, help me check, a Zhang family is near the pit of 10,000 clans. The young madam of the family is at level 7 of the soaring heaven tier. There is also a son who is injured and needs to be suppressed with a baleful aura. Alright. Xia Huyo agreed without hesitation. It was just a small matter. Wasn't that fellow Su Yu a little too cowardly? To think that he would think that someone was trying to harm him just because he met a cultivator of soaring tier. If that was the case, he would have to stay indoors. Otherwise, he might be harmed by others. Even though he didn't think much of it, to him, investigating a small clan was just a small matter. Thus, he didn't say much and quickly went to investigate the Zhang clan. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 925. Chapter 925, Chapter 228 Zhan Tinkong 1. Su Yu began to walk back, absorbing some murderous aura as he walked, casually nurturing the divine text. The kill word divine text had long advanced to tier 2, in fact, there wasn't much to nurture. Su Yu wasn't prepared to nurture it to tier 3 either. At this stage, when the divine text reached tier 3, other than increasing the burden, it wouldn't be of much help. Ever since the blood word had absorbed some of the sun-moon word's aftertaste, it was already on the verge of advancing. Su Yu did not dare to nurture it anymore. After walking for a while, he returned to his previous position. The person who had been cultivating was no longer there. Su Yu did not care. At this moment, the voice transmission talisman vibrated slightly. Su Yu opened it and saw that it was the Zhang family information sent by Xia Huyo. Zhang family, the soaring sky clan in the northern suburbs. The Zhang family had 4 soaring sky realm cultivators. They could be considered quite a powerful family. The head of the Zhang family, Zhang Wu, and his wife, Hu Feng. One of them was at the 9th level of the soaring sky realm, while the other was at the 7th level. His son, Zhang Ming, was slightly weaker. He was at the 3rd level of the soaring sky realm, but his wife was quite powerful. She was the woman from before, the young woman called Madame Zhang. Her name was Qianlan, and she was at the 7th level of the soaring sky realm. In addition, she had a grandson. He was the son of the young woman, the boy Su Yu had seen before. This was the master of the Zhang family. There were also some house guards. A family of 4 was called the Sky Realm. It was not a small family in the North District, and they were not weak. The Zhang family had been settled here for about 20 years. Su Yu watched for a while and transmitted his voice, this Qianlan is at the 7th level of the Sky Realm. Why did he marry someone at the 3rd level of the Sky Realm? Although there was definitely a difference in strength when cultivators married, it was usually the strong men and the weak women. It was still rare to see strong women and weak men. Xia Huyo quickly replied, I heard that when Qianlan was cultivating back then, he received the favor of the Zhang family's elders, so he married their son. The elders. Su Yu suddenly thought of the old woman he met on the road and quickly said, Old Madame Zhang, do you have a portrait of Hu Feng? Send one to me. Wait. Xia Huyo might be contacting someone. After a while, a picture was sent over. Su Yu carefully observed it. Although it was slightly different from the old woman he met previously, it was still roughly similar. It should be the same person. Su Yu's gaze changed slightly. This is interesting. It was fine if he didn't know any members of the Zhang family, but now, he met 3 members of the Zhang family consecutively on the road. It was really interesting. There was even a child who might be fake. This was even more interesting. Xia Huyo quickly said, Are you sure you're not mistaken? I have a simple understanding of the Zhang family. They are usually quite honest. The head of the Zhang family has even been to the heavenly battlefield a few times and killed enemies. Su Yu, those who have been to the battlefield can be considered a hero family of the great Xia mansion. Don't mess around. Have been to the battlefield? Su Yu was a little uncertain now. To be honest, in his opinion, if they were taught by the 10,000 clans, would they dare to go to the battlefield? Also, the Zhang family has some relations with the Zhang family in the city. They are considered a branch of the Zhang family, the Zhanghao family. Su Yu frowned. The Zhanghao family. He knew about this. The Zhanghao family had a 9th-level Lingyun cultivator. In the city, they were considered quite a powerful family. But these two families were related? Su Yu was silent for a while. He ignored Xia Huyo and quickly asked Zhang Hao telepathically, "Your family is related to the Zhang family in the north of the city?" "You mean the Zhang Wu family?" "Yes. Yes, they are related. Back then, my grandfather came to the Great Xia Mansion to study. My grandfather was not from the Great Xia Mansion, and neither was my Zhang family. He was from the Dashang Mansion. Later, my grandfather established his family business here and did not go back. This Zhang Wu family is considered a relative of my family in my hometown." Zhang Hao briefly explained for a while before quickly asking, "Did something happen? Do you know that child of his?" Zhang Mo. Zhang Hao had some impression of him, but he quickly replied, "I do, but I haven't seen him many times. When he was young, he cultivated ahead of time, and some of his body was injured. He spent most of his time recuperating at home. He's already 12 years old, and he hasn't even gone to a primary school. He had never been to a school. Was he really injured, or did he not dare to go because he was afraid of being discovered?" Su Yu quickly said, "I suspect that there's something wrong with this Zhang Wu family. Brother Zhang, let me ask you something. If there's something wrong with his family, will you be implicated?" The Great Xia Mansion rarely implicates others, but once it's someone from the Myriad Clan Church, if it's confirmed, it means that my grandfather might have sent some news out, and it will definitely implicate you. At the Great Xia Civilization Academy, Zhang Hao was a little worried. He quickly transmitted his voice, "Brother Su, is there really a problem?" He still had some trust in Su Yu. Su Yu suddenly asked about this family and might have discovered something. "I'm not sure. That child doesn't seem like a child. When I went out today, I ran into Hu Feng, Chen Lan, and that Zhang Mo one after another. Weren't they together?" Zhang Hao quickly replied, "Could it be an accident? What do you think?" Zhang Hao didn't say anything. To be able to enter the Institute of Civilization, and to be one of the elites among them, how could he be so stupid and innocent? After a long while, Zhang Hao quickly said, "Brother Su, if it's true, show mercy. Don't make a decision in a hurry. I will inform my grandfather that this matter must be handled by the Zhang family and that we must take care of them personally." Su Yu quickly replied, "That's not a problem, but I'm not sure yet. How about this, you guys make some preparations. If the other party makes a move against me, then the evidence will be irrefutable. If they didn't make a move, to be honest, after so many years, there might not be any evidence left behind." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 926. Chapter 926, Chapter 228 Zhan Tinkong 2. Then. I'll get my grandfather to secretly help you. No need, don't alert the enemy. We're all brothers in the association, that's why I'll give you a heads up in advance to avoid misunderstanding. Brother Zhang, don't leak it first either. To put it bluntly, your grandfather might not believe a student like me, even though I believe in Grandpa Zhang." Su Yu replied with a smile. As for whether he believed in Zhang Hao's grandfather or not, it was just a matter of words. those people really wouldn't make a move against him. Without any evidence, Suyu actually couldn't be bothered to care about them. The Great Xia Mansion's soldiers were strong and powerful. A few of them wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. Even if there was someone at the 9th level of Lingyun realm, it would still be the same. However, the probability of Zhang Hao's grandfather having a problem wasn't high. The other party was an official of the Great Xia Mansion and didn't work in the Department of Strong Education. Instead, he was working with Manager Hu. Manager Hu wouldn't be caught off guard if he accepted people. Who cares? It was fine if those guys did not find fault with them, but Suyu was not interested in exposing anything right now. There was not much meaning to it. Even Xia Huyo knew about the situation. Even if the other party did not make a move this time, the Xia family would still keep an eye on them. That was enough. After chatting with Zhang Hao for a while, Suyu quickly said, "Both of you, be careful later." "Yes, sir." Shuiren and Shadow replied at the same time. These two guys were also anxious to make a contribution. They hoped that a few blind guys would jump out. Soon, Suyu arrived at Wang Jishan's side. The two of them were cultivating. When they saw Suyu come out, they were relieved. Suyu had been gone for a few hours. He had finally come out. If he didn't come out now, they would be anxious. "It's done." Suyu smiled and said, "The effect of nourishing the divine prose is not bad, but the stench is too strong. Thank you for your hard work. Follow me and smell this stench." Wang Jishan quickly smiled and said, "What are you talking about? We even took advantage of it." The few of them chatted as they walked out. By the time they got out of the door, the two from the Zhang family had already left. Suyu did not care. When they reached the door and reached the place where the dragon beast was parked, he touched his pocket and suddenly said gloomily, "Where's my merit card? Did I lose it?" When he said this, the soldier had an unfriendly look on his face. "You're not leaving without money." Suyu was speechless. "It should have fallen off when I was cultivating. Then, I'll go in and look for it." As he said this, he looked at the two of them. He said awkwardly, "I can't ride the earth dragon beast anymore. I have to go in and look for it. Senior Wang, how about lending me 5 merit points? I'll go in and look for it. If you don't have money, I won't give it to you. I'll return it to you when I go back." Wang Jishan hurriedly said, "This is a small matter. Do you still want to go in? If you can't, go back and get another one. Let's look for it first." Suyu was helpless and said in a low voice, "That's an anonymous card. I can't lose it. If I lose it, it'll be troublesome. Whoever picks it up will get their merit points." Wang Jishan understood. He had heard of such a card but had never seen it. Suyu actually had it. This was normal. Most of the geniuses in the academy should have one. This was to prevent any transactions that had a huge volume from being monitored by the academy. He nodded. "All right then, we'll accompany you to look for it." "Don't." Suyu smiled and said, "I won't trouble the two of you. It won't be good to go in either, especially Chen Ming. He hasn't recovered yet and his face is already pale. If we go in again, then we won't have to get up for the next few days." Chen Ming looked embarrassed. He really couldn't take it anymore. Suyu smiled and said, "The two of you don't have to wait for me. To be honest, I don't even know when I'll be able to find it myself. How about this, the two of you can rent 2 galloping cloud horses back. It's all on me. Senior Wang, lend me 5 more merit points. I'll go in and look for it." Suyu would naturally ride the earth dragon beast back later. This was a matter of face. The face of a genius. Wang Jishan understood, but he was still a little embarrassed and said, "Why don't junior brother Chen go back first, and I'll go in with you? There's really no need. I have to go into the depths." Wang Jishan smiled wryly. There was no other way. He couldn't go. Alright, let's not talk about borrowing or not borrowing. To be honest, junior brother Chen and I didn't help much this time. Just give me 1 or 2 merit points. Senior Wang, are you not giving me face? Su Yu's face turned stiff. He was a little unhappy. Wang Zhishan smiled bitterly and nodded. Alright, let's borrow then. The rental fee for the sprinting cloud horse isn't expensive. This isn't considered borrowing. We'll pay for it ourselves. There's no need for merit points. Junior brother Su, don't fight with me. Then. Alright. After exchanging pleasantries for a while, Su Yu borrowed 5 merit points and returned to the pit of 10,000 races. Wang Zhishan and Bai Feng also rented 2 galloping cloud horses and left early. After they left, Su Yu let out a sigh of relief. These 2 were too weak. If an accident really happened, he would be fine. These 2 might not be able to hold on. Su Yu also knew that following these 2 was actually more realistic. He didn't know the situation at all and wouldn't be suspected. However, using his own people as targets, forget it. Bai Feng had questioned him that day. If Xia Yuan used his father as a target on the battlefield, what would he choose? Su Yu said that he would kill Xia Yuan. Since that was the case, Su Yu guessed that he might be in danger, so he naturally wouldn't implicate these people. After dawdling in the Myriad clan pit for a while, Su Yu indeed left the merit card here. He searched for more than half an hour on the way and found that very well hidden merit card. It wasn't a big mistake to be careful. It would be bad if it was really picked up by others, even though there was not much money left. Robbing money. Su Yu sighed in his heart and calculated. How much did it cost? After entering twice, it was 10 points. Stopping the demon beast at 1 point, Wang Zhishan at 10 points, and renting the earth dragon beast at 1 point. That was a total of 22 merit points. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 927. Chapter 927, Chapter 228 Zhan Tinkong Chiu subscribe, 3. I feel like I'm losing out. Even though I've gained something this time, such as that blade aura, it seems like my blade word holy prose is on the verge of being upgraded. When he left the pit of 10,000 clans once again, the sky was already dark. The night is good. There weren't many people on the road, so he wasn't sure if his guess was right. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Su Yu didn't think about it anymore. He rode on the earth dragon beast and quickly left the pit of 10,000 races. On the way back to the inner city, the Zhang family had a small courtyard by the side of the road. This was the main road between the pit of 10,000 races and the inner city. The Zhang family had a courtyard here, so it was more convenient for them to move around. In the courtyard, the few of them chatted telepathically. As they ate, the old man said telepathically, the other 2 students left early. Did Su Yu notice something wrong? The young lady replied telepathically, that can't be. When I met him, he didn't react at all, and there were no Dao protectors following him. What could he have noticed? Don't forget, he's a genius. The old man replied telepathically, geniuses have many tricks up their sleeves. Perhaps, he might have noticed something amiss. But our Zhang clan has been here for decades. Even if he did notice something, our identities are still real. What does he suspect? As they chatted, the old man hesitated and said, forget it, let's give up on the mission. Even if we really capture him, we have to move immediately. 8,000 contribution points is a lot, but to abandon the Zhang family's business, it might not be worth it. Hall Master. At this moment, the boy transmitted his voice, there's no need to run. Su Yu is missing. As long as we clean up the mess, who would know what we did? We can't be careless. The old man quickly said, if we really attack, we have to leave. If you can hide from Ling Yun, how can you hide from the sun and moon of the mountains and seas? Su Yu is a genius. Once he really goes missing, Hong Tan might come out of seclusion. Once he comes out, you will be discovered. At that time, he will definitely patrol everywhere. Then I will fake my death. Anyway, he keeps saying that I am injured. The boy still did not want to give up this opportunity. The young woman transmitted her voice, if it doesn't work, then we'll give up on this place. To be honest, if we capture Su Yu, it will save us 7 to 8 years of time. Together with our savings over these years, we'll bring along some precious items. The loss is actually not that big. If some valuable items were taken away, what was left would not be much. What real estate, and minerals? Could they be worth 100 million? It was not worth it. Moreover, these things could not be converted into contribution points or merit points. Even if they were sold, the merit points they could obtain would not be much. The old man glanced at the few of them. There were 5 of them, at least 3 of them were tempted. A young boy was the most greedy. He wanted to make a move, but he did not want to run away. He still wanted to stay. The others understood the danger and planned to leave after finishing this sum. The old man put down his bowl and continued to smoke his hookah. He was silent for a while. He transmitted his voice, either we give up or we capture him. We leave immediately. This is the outskirts of the city. We can walk fast and soon reach the wilderness. Once we reach the wilderness, the great Xia mansion wouldn't know where to look for us even if they wanted to. As for the boy's thoughts, they didn't consider it. He was courting death. Did he really think that the great Xia manor wouldn't be able to find any clues if he really kidnapped a genius? Crazy woman, do you think we should take action? The old man asked. The young woman wanted to take action. The crazy woman was also in the later stage of the soaring stage and was a civilized master. He asked for her opinion. The old woman hesitated for a moment and transmitted her voice. Do you think, if he uses that primordial spirit aperture, will the great Xia manor target him? Will the Xia family arrange people to protect him? This was what she was worried about. The myriad clan sect was concerned about the primordial spirit aperture, but the great Xia manor wasn't. She was a little hesitant. The old man nodded. This was actually what he was worried about. As for the Tao protector, it was clear that he didn't have one right now. The young man who had been silent the entire time sent a voice transmission. This is just a trip to the outskirts and the inner city. Will the Xia family send out experts to protect him? It's not like they're going out to gain experience. It was so far away. Would the Xia family send out mountains and seas to protect him? The boy said impatiently, haven't you decided yet? If this drags on, he'll leave. Once he returns to the Institute of Civilization, will he come out? The next time he comes out, he might just leave and we won't have a chance. Su Yu's chances of leaving the institute were too few. As he said this, the boy gritted his teeth and transmitted his voice. If it doesn't work, then let the people above cooperate with us. At most, it'll be a little less. The old man tapped his tobacco pipe on the table and suddenly said, do you guys think there's anyone else who wants to make a move? After all, we aren't the only ones lurking around the great Xia manor. Su Yu is a fat sheep. Are we the only ones who are tempted? The moment he said that, the few of them fell into silence. Was there? That was hard to say. A fat sheep with 8,000 contribution points. They shouldn't be the only ones who are interested, right? Would the others make a move? The boy quickly said, even if they do, they might not have the strength to capture him. We are different. The 5 of us didn't spend a day or 2 together, but many years. The others are all wandering soldiers. How do you know that they are wandering soldiers? Hall Master, do you not want to do it? The boy was displeased. He was worried about this and that, so he decided to give up. The old man knocked on the table. he said telepathically, I just don't want to bury everyone here. I spent dozens of years to gather here bit by bit. First, I want to throw away this foundation. I don't know where I will go in the future. Second, once I am discovered, I will definitely die. The boy said unhappily, then give up. After saying so much, he still didn't want to do it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 928. Chapter 928, Chapter 228 Zhan Tinkong 4. What are you so anxious about? The old man was displeased. He frowned and looked at him, saying slowly, actually, I'm still afraid that there are other people around who have designs on him, and that will only harm things. Thinking of this, he thought for a while and said, if you want to do it, then do it more steadily. How about this, Tongzi, you're good at disguising yourself. Help us disguise ourselves and pretend to be the dragon martial guards. The old man's eyes flickered as he said, we will go out openly and escort Suyu along the way. If there are other colleagues who have their eyes on Suyu, the moment we appear and the dragon martial guards appear, these people will retreat on their own. Escort Suyu along. If the Great Xia mansion really has an expert secretly escorting them, pretending to be the dragon martial guards does not deserve death. We are imposters. Even if we are found out, just say that we do have bad intentions towards Suyu. We will not be cut down. At most, we will be sent to the heavenly battlefield. He had already prepared for the worst. If he was really caught, he definitely could not admit that he was from the Myriad clan sect. Just say that he had bad intentions towards Suyu and wanted to attack him. If he was sent to the heavenly battlefield, there was still a way out. Those from the Myriad clan sect would definitely die. If they are caught, will they believe it? The young woman asked worriedly. The old man said speechlessly, I said that I won't attack, but you guys aren't willing. I said that I would make a move, but before I even left the house, I already said something disheartening. This is just in case. If we didn't have the mountain and sea escort, we wouldn't have been discovered at all. With the mountain and sea escort, the moment we appeared, the other party might have already appeared. If they didn't give us a chance, then making a move would only result in death. It would be better to live in the midst of death. Disguising as the dragon martial guards. This was a very bold move. In the Great Xia Manor, almost no one dared to do such a thing. Then we've been discovered. The boy won't be able to pass this round. His strength has been exposed, who would believe our words? The old man said indifferently, then tell us, it's a disguise. We're actually bandits. It's not like we weren't prepared back then. We're bandits who kidnapped merchants along the way, and our crimes don't warrant death. All these years, we've also been bandits concealing our identities. Let's expose our identities. If we're caught, we'll be sent to the vanguard camp, and we'll still have a chance to live. You guys can consider whether you want to do it or not. It was still necessary to add a layer of disguise on himself. The identity of the bandits was also true. After investigating this, the Great Xia mansion probably wouldn't continue investigating for the sake of a few small figures. Bandits, if they didn't kill many people, would be sent to the vanguard camp. This was the policy of the Great Xia mansion. In order not to waste the lives of these experts, even if you died, you had to kill a few enemies. The old man had already prepared for the possibility of being exposed one day. To survive was also something they had to prepare. Since they had already said this, they no longer hesitated and nodded. They did it. If they completed this transaction, it would be worth 7 to 8 years of income. The earth dragon beast was running wildly. The sky was already dark. The pedestrians on the side of the road could no longer be seen. They were just a few scattered passers-by. Suyu had been paying attention to the change in the perception jade. At this moment, the perception jade suddenly changed color. In front of them, a small team of dragon martial guards was rushing over. "Who's in front?" On the side of the dragon martial guards, someone shouted. Suyu hurriedly said, "Suyu, a new student of the Great Xia Civilization Academy." He was surprised. The dragon martial guards were here. Daily patrol? Or was it that guy Xia Huyo who sent people over? It wasn't that serious. Didn't he say that he was going to set a trap with him? Could it be a coincidence? Suyu was still thinking about it when he heard the voice of the water man. "Be careful, that water structure. It's similar to the boy I met earlier. He could change his appearance, body shape, and aura, but he could disguise himself. No one would be so idle as to give him some water." Even his flesh and blood organization had been changed. Other than those crazy people from the transformation department. You wouldn't even recognize him after being transformed. Suyu's heart trembled slightly. What guts, damn it. It can't be. To be honest, when he saw the dragon martial guards, his first feeling was relief. He had actually met the dragon martial guards. Even if the other party wasn't strong, no one would dare to make a move. This was also the mindset of the people of the Great Xia Manor. The martial dragon guards were the strongest army in the Great Xia Mansion. With them around, the Great Xia Mansion was safe and sound. He really didn't have any suspicions at the first moment. If it wasn't for Shui Ren's reminder, he might not have cared too much. Suyu's heart was shaken. He was still too relaxed. He knew that someone might make a move against him this time, but he actually didn't have any suspicions towards them. This was too careless. Just as Suyu was feeling a little scared, a few people disguised as the dragon martial guards quickly approached. As they approached, there wasn't the slightest difference. It was impossible to tell how they looked like. 5 people, 3 men and 2 women. It was normal for the dragon martial guards to have women. After all, there were quite a few female cultivators. They all looked very young. The few of them quickly stopped. The leader, judging from his clothes, was a centurion. For example, the Nanyuan Xia soldiers were only 10 people long in the initial stage of the soaring stage. So you guessed that the leader of the dragon martial guards wasn't the head of the Zhang family, right? An existence at the 9th level of the soaring stage. Just as he was thinking, the leader quickly said, "Student. Don't run around at night." Suyu, could he be the strongest new student of the Great Xia Institute of Civilization? "It's me." Suyu cooperated. These guys were really bold. Impersonating the dragon martial guards. It was also incredible. This person looked around, frowning. He said, "You dare to leave the city without anyone protecting you? Do you want to die? A genius student like you is on the list of the 10,000 races religion. If you meet him, you'll be killed. This is the outskirts of the city. Although it's safe, we can't guarantee that there will be people patrolling at any time. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 929. Chapter 929, Chapter 228 Zhan Tinkong 5. "Thank you for your reminder, my lord." Suyu knew what he meant and came to inquire about the news. "I thought that I would only come to the outskirts of the city. Since I'm still in the city, I didn't ask my uncle master to escort me here." Suyu laughed foolishly. With the lord of the dragon martial guards here, how would those ghosts and demons dare to be impudent? "This place isn't far from the inner city, I'll be back soon. Have you brought your student ID?" Suyu was still riding on the earth dragon beast. Hearing this, he smiled and got off the earth dragon beast, taking out a student ID. "Lord, this is my student ID." Suyu took the student ID and handed it over. "Old 5, identify it." From the crowd, a person walked out. It was Shui Ren who had reminded him that it might be the lad. The waterman took the student ID card and examined it carefully before swiftly saying, "Sir, it's true. This place isn't too far from the inner city, a genius student like you running around in the middle of the night, forget it, we'll escort you back. The old man who was leading the group said with a stern face, the next time you go out, especially out of the city, it's best to follow the group. It's not so easy to be a genius. You have to pay attention at all times. The old man bought some time. Seeing that they were here and hearing their words, even if someone had secretly planned something, it was time to retreat. The few of them did not know that at this moment, in the sky, a mountain and sea was looking down at them. After staring at them for a while, he rubbed his temples. He was getting old. Needless to say, he did not notice it at the first moment. He just felt that it was a coincidence that he had met a team of dragon martial guards. But, now he thought about it. These guys, aren't they the guys from the Zhang family? I'm getting old. The middle-aged man sighed in his heart. I'm really getting old. This disguise is better, and my strength is a little stronger. When I reach the Lingyun realm, I might not be able to notice anything. *CK, I'm a little embarrassed. I noticed it a long time ago. I just wanted to see Su Yu's reaction. I wanted him to feel the complexity of the human heart. Society is very complicated. He found an excuse for himself. In the next moment, he felt a little awkward. He sensed a shadow. Following Su Yu's footsteps, the shadow gradually overlapped with Zhang Wu's shadow. Obviously, Su Yu noticed it. It was awkward. *CK. He actually noticed it before him. It was unforgivable. His mountain and sea was a little embarrassed. Since Su Yu had discovered it, he did not make a move and waited for the follow-up. Su Yu had 2 Lingyun great demons on him. These people could not do anything to him. Underground. The shadow moved. Su Yu was not in a hurry. This was the first time he had met an opponent who knew how to act. It was too interesting. It was the time for him to gain experience and learn a lesson. My lords, isn't this too inappropriate? I've disturbed you. Zhang Wu said with a cold face, you talk too much nonsense. If you weren't a genius student of the Great Xia Civilization Academy, who would care about you? We still have a mission. Hurry up, we'll send you to the city gate. We're going to carry out the mission immediately. Su Yu said awkwardly, then. I'll have to trouble you, my lords. Su Yu was just about to turn around and get on the earth dragon beast when the boy behind him was about to knock him unconscious when Su Yu suddenly said, oh right, your names, my lords. Su Yu said gratefully, although my lords may not care about it, we might still be comrades in arms in the future. So, my lords, could you please tell us? The boy was a little impatient and was about to attack him directly when Zhang Wu coughed lightly and said, Zhang Wen. Su Yu bowed politely. The others could only introduce themselves. How troublesome. Quickly turn around and go up. I'll give you a clean blow. I'll knock you out with one blow and bring you on your way. After dragging this out for so long, even if there was someone in the dark, it was time to leave. When the boy arrived, Su Yu was the closest to him. The boy impatiently reported his name, and it was almost over. Su Yu bowed again and bent down. This time, he bent down, and in the next moment, a hammer smashed down on the boy. The Wenbing saber instantly appeared, emitting a faint flame. Fast. Incomparably fast. The heaven-cleaving saber exploded, and the fire crow's natal flame hidden on the Wenbing was directly activated. Su Yu really wanted to see if he could kill and soar into the sky under his surprise attack. As for the consequences, with the 2 great demons present, what was there to be afraid of? The boy's sea of consciousness instantly trembled. His vision blurred, and he was a bit black. Before he could wake up, Su Yu was too close to him. At this moment, he bent down, and a saber appeared in his hand. Emitting a glow of fire, he stabbed it toward the boy's heart. In the sky, the middle-aged man had a toothache. A dog that bites doesn't bark. So ruthless. The other party was wearing the Dragon Martial Guard's clothes, and you're sure they're bad guys? And you just went ahead and killed them? Soul-expanding technique, heaven-splitting blade, the fire your race's natal flame. The middle-aged man was a little speechless. This wasn't the point. The point was, wasn't this hammer a little too fierce? Wasn't this willpower a little too strong? With a single hammer strike, the 5th-level civilization master was knocked out of his wits. You're the one who should be resting. In this day and age, were rookies that scary? These thoughts flashed through his mind. As for Su Yu, he was incomparably ruthless. A knife directly pierced through the boy's heart. Flames emerged from the boy's body, and lightning exploded. With a bang, the boy was a civilization master. His physical body wasn't strong, so he was directly blown into pieces. When a civilized master was ambushed, his willpower was jolted, and his physical body was unable to hold any advantage against Su Yu. Instead, he was killed in a single blow. Su Yu's eyes were cold, and he didn't even bother to look at the young lad. The little hammer had already been activated once more, and he charged toward the other young man. As for the other 3, he was unable to kill them, but he knew that they were all at the advanced stage of the soaring heavens realm. Zhang Wu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Everything had happened too quickly, and he didn't expect Su Yu to make a move. Just as he was about to make a move, his shadow moved, and his legs exploded. In the next moment, a black shadow covered his legs. Despair appeared in Zhang Wu's eyes. What was this? As for the young woman and the old woman, they were directly entangled by 2 balls of water. Su Yu smiled and said, "Give me a try." He did not ask the water man to make a move. That young man was Zhang Wu's son in the information. He was only at the 3rd level of the sky realm. Su Yu wanted to see if he could kill him. A genius from the civilized academy against a mediocre genius from the myriad clan religion. Could he not be killed? Zhan Hai should be able to kill him easily. Otherwise, he would not be a genius among geniuses. Being invincible in the same realm meant that in the same situation where they were all monsters, these trash should cross realms and kill. Die. The young man roared and some apertures appeared on his body. Warrior. Su Yu sneered, trash with 60 apertures. With 60 enlightenment, even if he were to soar into the sky, it would be nothing more than that. Die. With a low shout, the small hammer smashed down. The young man didn't want to kill Su Yu. He wanted to turn around and escape, but his movement suddenly stopped. In the next moment, his blood and chi surged into the sky, forcing the small hammer back. His head felt a little dizzy. Just as he was about to leave, his vision blurred. Su Yu was actually in front. The young man was alarmed. When did he arrive? In the next moment, he suddenly realized something and shouted, "Break!" With a furious roar, Yuan Qi exploded and shattered the illusion. It was an illusion. However, it was too late. Behind him, Su Yu was holding a literary weapon in his hand. With over 300 acupoints, his strength erupted as he slashed out with his saber. Saber chi swept out. The young man was furious as he turned around to face the attack with his saber. Boom! The 2 sabers collided with each other, and a huge explosion sounded out. Su Yu's willpower shook for a moment before the small hammer smashed out once more. Killing intent surged, and battle intent surged. The young man also took a step back in shock. Was this Qianjun? F***CK. Was this Qianjun? Too powerful. Just as he was about to charge over once more, Su Yu sneered as he took out his long saber once more. Suddenly, the 8 divine inscriptions fused together, and within his sea of consciousness, the 8 divine inscriptions temporarily fused into a small saber. Divine inscription battle technique. This was his first time using 8 divine inscriptions and fusing them into a divine inscription battle technique. He wanted to see how the effect would be. Splitting technique, his first attempt. Heaven cleaving. Suyu shouted in a low voice, heaven cleaving. After fusing the divine inscription battle technique into the Wen soldier, its power instantly soared, and his willpower was rapidly depleted. After fusing the 8 divine inscriptions, the divine inscription battle technique was incomparably powerful, and it wasn't inferior to the divine inscription battle technique of the ordinary multiple divine inscriptions. After all, Suyu also had many rank 2 divine inscriptions. His willpower was also comparable to the sky. This attack was equivalent to the full-strength attack of a Sky Realm multi-divine inscriptions civilized master. Kill! A loud roar sounded. He was still a few meters away from the other party, so he slashed down with his saber. The young man roared furiously and wanted to counterattack. He swung his saber, but his vision blurred, and his saber slashed through the air. I'm a civilized master, idiot. Suyu's face turned pale. With a light snort, the Wenbing disappeared into thin air. In the next moment, with a poochie sound, it pierced through the young man's neck. The other party's willpower instantly shattered. Soaring into the air, even fighters had willpower. The young man looked at him, and his vision turned black. With a bang, his head fell off, and he saw that his body was still standing with a saber in his hand. How weak! Suyu curled his lips. This was soaring into the air. Damn! I overestimated myself. Am I that awesome? I only just realized it. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 930. Chapter 930, Chapter 229. Making money was very simple. 1. Killing 2 in a row in the sky. Ambushing a 5th-level Sky Realm boy and killing a young man was considered a direct kill of a 3rd-level Sky Realm. This was the sky in and out of the academy. In the academy, Suyu might not even be able to kill a 1st-level Sky Realm boy, but outside of the academy, it was easy to kill him. At the same level, there was still a huge gap between them. The academy was where the true elites gathered. On the other side was the military, and there were also many experts. In the sky. The middle-aged Shanhai's face was filled with shock. What did I see? A divine literature battle technique? Did I see wrongly? What exactly happened? Suyu had already finished sketching out a divine literature battle technique. He fell into deep thought. Something wasn't right. It wasn't that Suyu was too fast, but the amount of divine literature sketched out was too little. There were only a few divine literature, and the power of the divine literature battle technique was too weak. This shouldn't be. Actually, it wasn't weak, but Suyu had so many tier 2 divine runes, which meant that he hadn't drawn too many divine runes in total. Was this a battle technique? Impossible. It's impossible that Suyu only had a few divine runes as a battle technique. What exactly is it? What kind of changes have occurred with the addition of divine runes? The middle-aged mountain and sea's expression changed again and again. This point shocked him even more than Suyu soaring into the sky. While he was shocked, he couldn't help but think back to the day when the white maple dragon slaying sword had transformed into several swords. The middle-aged man's expression changed. He vaguely guessed something. It couldn't be. If that was the case, the entire civilized master domain would undergo a huge change. The more divine literature, the more mysterious it became. He quickly contacted General Manager Hu and told him his guess. General Manager Hu didn't say anything for a long time. Obviously, he was also deep in thought. It wasn't because he was shocked by Suyu killing the sky, but because of the change in the divine literature battle technique. Below. Suyu looked around and quickly said, "Thank you, Senior, for protecting the Tao in secret." I hope that senior won't leak this matter. At this moment, the Tao protectors were either from the Xia family or arranged by the 10,000 heavenly saints. Therefore, it wasn't important for the two sides to leak some things. Perhaps they could fight for even more benefits. Above, the middle-aged man's heart trembled. Me? That can't be. Impossible. How could you possibly find me? I am the mountain and sea, and there are no other mountains and seas nearby. Does that mean that he's really talking about me, or is he just bluffing? Su didn't care what he thought. He continued, Senior, in a few days, I might have to go out again. At that time, it's very likely that a mountain and sea will attack me. If you're worried, Senior, you can ask the higher-ups if you need a replacement. The middle-aged mountain and sea gritted his teeth. Aren't you talking about me? Am I right? That's definitely the case. I won't admit that you discovered my existence. If I was discovered by you, I would be too ashamed to live. He chose to remain silent. In his heart, he was ridiculing. What does that mean? You're going out in a few days, and you already know that someone wants to kill you before you even go out. And it's a Shanghai realm? F***CK, can you see the future? Don't joke with me. Su said a few simple words and didn't say anything else. I'll remind you. As for discovering the other party, nonsense, how many times has the perception jade changed color? If he still couldn't discover it, then he would really be a fool. He had discovered it in the inner city, but at that time, he wasn't sure if it was to protect him. Now, he was more or less certain. The other party had the guts to fly in the inner city and not make a move on him or leave after a battle broke out. If that wasn't to protect him, then what the heck? If it was really an enemy, they would have made a move on him a long time ago. The perception jade, it had to be said that the jade that Zhao Li had given him was truly too useful. Treasures, absolute treasures. In Su Yu's eyes, many things weren't secrets, and they were open to him. Su Yu was certain that the perceptive jade might be of earth rank, and might not have been forged by Zhao Li. It might have been forged by an even stronger weapon forging division, and had been given to Zhao Li, who had given it to him. Forget about that mountain and sea guy. I'm warning you, the next time you go out, you might run into a mountain and sea. It's not a possibility, it's almost a certainty. Whether or not you can handle it, think about it. After killing 2 of them, the other 3 were all controlled. The shadow almost covered Zhang Wu's entire body. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fear and terror. Only at this moment did he have the chance to speak. He screamed, I admit defeat. I admit that I had bad intentions toward you and wanted to kill you. Su Yu, I admit defeat. You can hand me over to the Dragon Martial Guards or the government soldiers. I admit defeat. Su Yu ignored him. He took out his voice transmission talisman and said a few words. A moment later, 2 figures flew over. No, it was an old man holding on to Zhang Hao. Looking down, he sighed. As he said that, he suddenly looked up. In the air, the middle-aged man cursed and quickly disappeared. The old man beside Zhang Hao let out a sigh of relief and said a few words. Very quickly, he looked at Su Yu and then at the 2 corpses that had been killed. His gaze changed slightly. Without saying anything else, the old man was very straightforward. I am Zhang Zhanghe. Thank you for your reminder, little friend. After saying that, he looked at the 3 people that were entangled. He said in a deep voice, leave these 3 people to me. They are all little friends, spoils of war. Killing an enemy that has been lifted into the air, the reward will be 100 merit points for the lower reward and 300 merit points for the higher reward. These are all little friends. After raiding the Zhang family, the rewards will all be my little friends. In addition, in order to thank my little friend for his contribution and the value he places on my little friend's talent, I will personally give you 5,000 merit points as encouragement. Su Yu glanced at the old man and smiled, Grandpa Zhang is too polite. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 931. Chapter 931, Chapter 229. Making money was very simple, monthly subscription, 2. Zhang Wu said loudly, Big brother Zhanghe, I was possessed and had evil intentions towards Su Yu. I admit my mistake, admit my punishment, Big brother Zhanghe, for the sake of our race, spare my life. At this moment, Zhang Wu was extremely terrified. He was not stupid. The moment Zhang Zhanghe appeared, he suddenly realized that he might die. Su Yu actually contacted Zhang Zhanghe. That Zhang Zhanghe would not let him off easily in order to wash away some things. He definitely would not. He would take his own life. Su Yu also knew this, so he accepted Zhang Zhanghe's 5,000 merit points. This was a deal. If the person was handed over to Zhang Zhanghe, the rewards would be on me, the merit points would be on me, and the spoils of war would be on me. However, the rights to dispose of these people, Su Yu didn't want them. As for Zhang Zhanghe, he had control over these people. Whether he killed them or captured them, it had nothing to do with Su Yu. He could kill them to silence them, or dig out more things to make up for his mistakes. In any case, it had nothing to do with Su Yu. After receiving the money, he even sold a favor to the Zhang family. After all, he was a 9th-level Ling Yun realm powerhouse. Zhang Zhanghe heaved a sigh of relief. He took a deep look at Su Yu and didn't say anything else. He quickly activated his divine inscriptions and sealed the few of them, not giving Zhang Wu the chance to speak again. What evil intentions, what robbery, he didn't take them seriously at all. At this moment, these few people were from the Myriad Clan sect. Regardless of whether they were confirmed or not, it was the same. It didn't matter if he killed them or captured them for interrogation. He had to take the lead so that he wouldn't fall into a passive position. Although the Great Xia Manor was still relatively peaceful, conflicts were everywhere. This time, he might be defeated. If these few people fell into the hands of his enemies, to him, it was a huge problem. Fortunately, that person from before was also in his faction. When he looked at Su Yu again, there was a strange look in his eyes. It was actually that person who was secretly protecting the way. Was it the intention of the Chamberlain or the Xia family? No matter who it was, in his eyes at this moment, Su Yu was a huge potential stock. Moreover, he was a very smart person. Su Yu didn't ask, didn't care, and he stepped forward, easily agreeing to hand the person over to him. This was wisdom. Even if he paid 5,000 merit points, he still owed him a favor. Zhang Zhanghe didn't say anything else. Looking at the two corpses on the ground, he was even more shocked. Kill, soar into the sky. Temper, slash, soar into the sky. The Lu Wenyan of the past was only a so-so. The successor of this generation of the multi-god literature department was too strong. Moreover, he was even more low-key than the Lu Wenyan of the past. In this period of time, being low-key meant that it was safer. The Lu Wenyan of the past was extremely flamboyant. It was related to the environment at that time. At that time, the multi-god literature department viewed him as the next generation leader. Now, Su Yu didn't know if he was born at the wrong time. If it was during the peak of the multi-god literature department, at this time, a large number of soaring into the sky and Ling Yun would probably be used by him. They would push him to be the next generation successor. These thoughts flashed through his mind. Zhang Zhonghe smiled and said, Little friend, if you need anything in the future, feel free to ask Zhang Hao to look for me. I will do whatever I can to help. When he said this, Zhang Hao's expression changed slightly. When his grandfather said this, it was a little serious. This favor seemed to be owed a lot. Su Yu smiled and said, Grandpa Zhang, you're too polite. Brother Zhang and I are like brothers. It's just a small matter. Zhang Zhanghe smiled and nodded. He reached out to grab the 3 sealed people and carried the 2 corpses floating in the air. He smiled and said, "My little friend was shocked today. Ah, how, accompany my little friend for a few more words. I still have to deal with these few people here." As he said, "I'll immediately dispatch people to lock down the Zhang Wu family and confiscate the family assets. At that time, according to the value, I'll get someone to give it to my little friend. Grandpa Zhang, please do your thing. Brother Zhang, just accompany me." Suyu had a smile on his face, and his expression was gentle. Looking at him and then looking at his own grandson, in the past, he felt that his grandson was well versed in both literature and martial arts. Even for Zhao Shiqi and the other disciples of large families, Zhang Zhanghe also felt that his grandson was not the slightest bit different. Looking at him now, compared to Suyu, it was not that his grandson was useless, but he could not help but feel a little regretful. Zhang Zhanghe didn't say anything. He brought a few people and left through the air. As for Shuiren and Shadow, they had already returned. Once Zhang Zhanghe left, Zhang Hao looked at Suyu for a while before sighing, "The gap is getting bigger and bigger." It was too shocking. Recuperation/soaring through the air. He killed 2 people in one go, and it wasn't those who had just entered, but those who had reached the 3rd and 5th levels of soaring through the air. Zhang Hao's emotions were complicated. At this moment, he had really found the gap. Suyu smiled and said, "It's just a coincidence. You can do it too. Brother Zhang, we are on the same side, aren't we?" "Yes." Zhang Hao smiled and nodded slightly. He was actually not weak. After opening 6 God apertures, he had also reached the peak of his temperament. His physical body was at the critical level. He had not made the list recently. If he really made the list, he would be able to make it into the top 30 of the top 100 without any problem. For a new student to reach this step, he was already extremely stunning. It was related to the Sea of Consciousness mystical realm and those divine apertures. If this news of yours gets out, it's simply. I hope Grandpa Zhang can keep it a secret for a while. Suyu smiled and said, "Help me pass on this message. These empty titles are meaningless. They will only make my opponents, my enemies, pay more attention to me next time, and be even crueler." "I understand." The wood stood out in the forest. At this moment, Suyu was truly a lone star. Formation/soaring into the sky. If this news was spread out, it would probably cause a commotion in the Great Xia Mansion. Unlike Zhai Feng, who killed soaring into the sky, who did not know that it was because there were many experts holding down the formation and working together. In the end, a few top 100 students attacked together, giving Zhai Feng the opportunity to kill soaring into the sky. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 932. Chapter 932, Chapter 229 was easy to earn money, monthly subscription, 3. This was nothing compared to Suyu. Suyu also had experts on his side to hold the line. However, killing 2 people in the air was without any help from anyone. As Suyu walked, he smiled and said, "My luck is not bad. It seems that I have some gains this time. At least my capital has returned. I've earned it. 3 late-stage Skyflyers, 900 merit points. 1 mid-stage, 1 early stage, 300 merit points. That was 1,200 merit points. The kind that could be counted as accumulated merit points. In addition, there were many Skyflyers in the Zhang family. Even if they didn't give all of them to Suyu, it wouldn't be a problem for him to get 1,000 to 2,000 merit points, right? Adding on the 5,000 merit points that Zhang Zhanghe had promised. Suyu felt that there might be around 8,000 merit points. If he was lucky, there might even be a chance of getting more than 10,000 merit points. Earning money was very simple. Killing 5 Sky Realm cultivators would be enough. Suyu thought that it was simple, but in reality, he knew that this was something that many people would never be able to accomplish in their entire lives. Even if they were level 1 or level 2 Ling Yun, would they dare to guarantee that they would be able to take down these 5 people? Even if they were able to take them down, they wouldn't be able to get the 5,000 merit points that the Zhang family had given them. Suyu had no objections to handing the person over to Zhang Zhanghe. An additional sum of income would be quite good. As for that fellow Xia Huyo, he believed that he was also keeping an eye on Zhang Zhanghe. Suyu did not care about him. If there was a problem with Zhang Zhanghe, it would not be able to escape the eyes of the Xia family. Now that he was suspicious, if there was a problem, it would be much easier to find him. As for what Zhang Wu said about robbing and killing for money, this had nothing to do with Suyu. Whether it was real or fake, when it was in Zhang Zhanghe's hands, he would definitely investigate it clearly. As they walked, they soon reached the inner city gate. Suyu tidied up his clothes and held the earth dragon beast. His white clothes were as white as snow. Under the night sky, he looked even more elegant. His white clothes were not stained with blood. After killing 2 people, some blood splashed onto his body. However, Suyu had used the blood word to clean it up. At this moment, he did not seem to be wild and ruthless at all. Zhang Hao, who was by his side, felt a little emotional. He did not say anything and cupped his fists. It's better if we don't act together. I'll leave first so that no one will think too much of it. Brother Zhang, help yourself. Suyu smiled. If you don't mind the trouble, Brother Zhang, help me create momentum in the near future. It's not today's matter. The academy has been adding fuel to the fire recently. You know about the matter of the students of the myriad races. Help me create momentum. The students of the myriad races deserve to be killed. They can be killed. They must be killed. Those who are not of our race must have different intentions. Suyu smiled faintly and said, to put it simply, even if they die, they will die in vain. Moreover, there must be a big conspiracy behind the arrival of the human realm. This. Principal Wan's policy. Suyu smiled and said, it's fine. Principal Wan might not care about it. The academy will ensure their safety. Once they leave the academy. Who cares? Zhang Hao's eyes flickered, and he nodded. He quickly said, if you really have such thoughts, bring a few people with you. Our own people, or those who seem to be our enemies, to prove yourself. It's quite dangerous. It's fine, Brother Su, if you need me, you can call me. Zhang Hao didn't really care, and he said in a low voice, right, this matter will be exposed sooner or later, so you can create some momentum first. On your side, just say that the Dragon Martial Guards have made a move, or that someone else has made a move, and you've bitten the Zhang family to death to harm you. Zhang Hao laughed softly, it is indeed the Zhang family's branch that wants to harm you. It is only right for you to be my enemy. Suyu nodded and smiled, waving his hand at him. The two of them parted ways. The matter would be exposed sooner or later. Needless to say, his accumulated merit points had skyrocketed. It was just him thinking too much. Fatty Xia. Suyu smiled. Fatty Xia is with me. His people killed the other party, but I stabbed them in the back, so the accumulated merit points are on me. Does anyone believe this? The next moment, Suyu's voice transmission talisman appeared again. After a while, Xia Huyo was carried by an elder and rushed over. He panted and said, I'm busy. Why are you calling me? Come with me into the city. Suyu smiled and said, good brother, we naturally have to enter the city together. We met on the way and you saved my life. You even gave me a great merit. If we don't enter the city together, don't tell me we have to separate. Xia Huyo was stunned for a moment and then said in a bad mood, damn. Who are you trying to scam this time? Your heart is really black. Su Yu could not help but laugh. What you said, I don't scam people, unless the other party isn't human. Those who want to kill me and those who have malicious intentions towards me aren't human. I am a genius, a research-type genius. My existence will bring help to the Great Xia mansion, and not harm it. On this point, Your Highness Xia must be clear. Only by valuing talents can the Xia family maintain its long-term stability. Xia Huyo pursed his lips. What he said was not wrong. The key was that if you made such a big commotion all day long, sooner or later, you would not be able to suppress it. Without saying that, Xia Huyo also said in surprise, "You are really good. Was it you who did that?" Actually, he was also nearby earlier, but he did not get close enough to see it clearly. Su Yu, killed soaring into the sky. F***ck. This fellow was a little too terrifying. Su Yu smiled and said, "You can do it too. There are so many god openings, is it difficult to kill a weak soaring sky?" Su Yu chuckled and said, "If we have enough willpower, we can all become 9th level soaring sky warriors. Killing one warrior and 60 useless warriors with god openings, is it difficult to kill them?" He was speechless. The corner of the elder's mouth twitched, and in the next moment, he directly soared into the sky and disappeared. "I don't want to hear it anymore. When the two of you had the temperament to tell you that killing a few people to soar into the air was very simple, that kind of feeling was somewhat unbearable even for the mountains and seas. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 933. Chapter 933, Chapter 229. Making money was very simple, monthly subscription, 4. Su Yu did not mind. The people that Xia Huyo brought should be direct descendants of the Xia family. If they were not members of the Xia family, then they were loyal generals. In the great Xia manner, do not treat the Xia family as your enemy. Otherwise, you will die a horrible death. Xia Huyo was too lazy to say anything else. He climbed onto the earth dragon beast and Su Yu also jumped onto it. The earth dragon beast quickly ran. Soon, they entered the inner city. Under the night sky, the inner city was still filled with people. The inner city of the prefecture capital could be considered a city that never sleeps. Su Yu and Xia Huyo sat on the earth dragon beast and whispered to each other. Su Yu also smeared some blood on Xia Huyo's body. He did not care whether Xia Huyo cared or not. "People, you killed them. I will go claim the credit. Zhang Zhong and Old Master Zhang, regardless of whether there is a problem or not, it's best to adjust the position." Su Yu smiled and said, "It's just a suggestion. Besides, the Zhang family has scared our highness. It doesn't make sense if we don't give them some punishment, right?" Xia Huyo ridiculed, "Su Yu, you weren't so evil in the beginning." "Evil?" Su Yu smiled and said, "I was just following the trend. How could I be evil? Moreover, this civilized academy doesn't give a pure person any space to live. Either they become ordinary people, or they have to learn how to survive with the fittest." Xia Huyo was speechless. That was true. In the civilized academy, if you didn't learn how to adapt quickly and blend in quickly, you would soon become an exception among them. Every step would be difficult. Unless, there was someone protecting you. Otherwise, just wait for them to become ordinary people. A group of sinister fellows, waiting to get rid of their competitors at any time and rise to the top smoothly. Su Yu laughed. He was in a good mood. He didn't say anything more and quickly said, "Have you bought the blood essence that I asked you to buy?" "I'm collecting it now." "How much?" "There are several kinds of blood essence that are not cheap, especially the Sky Dragon blood essence. That is a powerful race that is not weaker than the gods and devils. The king race of the dragon race, a drop of blood essence, depends on luck. If you're lucky, you'll get a few hundred merit points. If you're not lucky, you won't be worse than the gods and devils' blood essence. How much do you need in total? At least 2,000 points. How expensive? Su Yu was speechless. He thought for a moment and said, let's say 1,900 points. Including the previous one, I owe you 3,000 merit points. When I get the money later, I'll pay you back first. I'm a person who can borrow money to pay back. If he had money, he could return some, especially Xia Huyo. Now that he had returned it, he could borrow even more next time. As for Jing Yunhui, it seemed like he would not return it if he did not have the money. A pure origin technique was more than enough. It was also a good thing to pass it on to the Jing family. As for the auction, the risk was too great. Su Yu did not want his side to spread the news. Su Yu kept thinking about this. Suddenly, he felt that his inward divine script was showing signs of advancing. He was stunned for a moment. What did it mean? F***CK. What did it mean? I was just thinking too much. Why did you suddenly advance at this time? What was going on? At this moment, the blood, thunder, and kill he had mastered had all advanced to tier 2. The saber, the destruction, the battle, and the yin were all in the advanced stage, and the fire character from before didn't show any signs of advancing. In this way, Su Yu would soon have 7 tier 2 characters. As for the yin-type divine prose advancing, it could be said that he had accumulated a lot. Previously, when he had absorbed the sun and moon divine prose's charm, he actually had the tendency to advance. It was just that he had not expected that after the battle, he would begin to advance. At this moment, Su Yu happened to be thinking about those things. It seemed as if his thoughts were very sinister, which was why he had advanced. This made Su Yu speechless. I'm not that kind of person. This god text of yours is intentionally going against me. Just as Su Yu returned to the academy, there was some movement in the Great Xia Manor. Genius student Su Yu had been attacked outside the city. 5 of them took action. 2 of them were killed on the spot, and the remaining 3 were captured and brought to justice. As for whether it was the members of the Myriad Clan sect or the others, it was still unclear. Very quickly, news spread. When those idiots attacked Su Yu, the Xia family was present. Those idiots had sent themselves to their deaths. They had never seen such idiots before. The Xia family was present, and you dared to make a move. You're courting death. Xia Huyo, who was not very famous, had become somewhat famous. It turned out that the Xia family had another Xia Huyo. The higher-ups knew that he was the son of Xia Longwu, but many people did not know. They only knew that the Xia family had another person. In a secret room in the Great Xia Mansion, an old man sat still, his voice transmission talisman flickering in his hand. These idiots. Xia Huyo was there, and he actually attacked Su Yu. He's courting death. The old man was a little angry, and a little angry. He was too stupid. Of course, he knew. In fact, he could not blame these people. Xia Huyo's identity was top secret, and not many people knew. Even if the people of the Myriad Clan sect knew, they would not spread it to the people below. If they didn't know Xia Huyo's identity, they would just kill him as a student. This was his guess of what Zhang Wu and the other fools were thinking. But this time, they had kicked an iron plate. They were in big trouble. If the Xia clan really got angry, they would be in big trouble. Su Yu was actually together with Xia Huyo. This was something he hadn't expected. Immediately retract everything. No one is to move again. Anyone who has anything to do with Zhang Wu and the others, get rid of them. Zhang Zhanghe was currently conducting a thorough investigation. He wanted to clear his name from the Xia clan so that he could find an opportunity to get rid of Zhang Wu and the others. He didn't want to give them the chance to speak. Forget it, I won't take the risk. The Xia clan might be keeping an eye on them, so it's useless for them to speak. Retract everything, and don't make any movements for the time being. The old man quickly gave the order, and his heart ached a little. He had lost 5 spies. They were all spies who had been dormant for many years. This time, his heart ached too. On Su Yu's side, raise the level. After this, we'll alert the enemy. He could only accept the mission after adjusting it to Ling Yun. In addition, he had to add another 5,000 contribution points. The Xia family was mixed up with him. On one hand, it was because he was talented. On the other hand, it was possible that his theory of the primordial spirit aperture could really produce results. The old man gave out orders one after another. He also raised the danger level for Su Yu. After this, Su Yu would be even more careful. 13,000 contribution points, that was a lot. The 5 of them failed to take to the air. Although there were unexpected factors, this was also Su Yu's luck. The cultivators placed a lot of importance on the theory of fate. Good luck was also an ability. Since Su Yu had survived a great disaster and was fine, it might be difficult to take him down in the sky. Ling Yun would do it. As for the mountains and seas, they were too big a target and could easily be discovered. I'm afraid Su Yu won't be leaving the academy in the near future. The voice transmission talisman vibrated. Someone replied. The old man pondered for a moment and said, not necessarily. Let's wait and see. There's no rush. The theory of the primordial spirit aperture has just been published. How can it be produced so quickly? It's only possible for Su Yu because there are too many primordial spirit apertures. The subordinate did not ask any more questions. This was also true. There was no rush. Even if Su Yu was a true genius, it would be difficult for him to produce any results without 10 or 8 years of research. The old man thought for a moment. Suddenly, he said, Su Yu's father is in the Demon Suppression Army. Who is the nearest opponent race of the Demon Suppression Army? Let's see if we can contact them. It would be best to let that race capture his father alive on the battlefield. Leave us some backup plans. Once Su Yu really produces some results, the Great Xia Mansion will immediately take control of Su Yu and the Primordial Spirit Research Institute. Unless Su Yu himself refuses to tell us, then we'll need capital. Understood. The subordinate replied. The old man heaved a sigh of relief and prepared himself. If Su Yu really produced some results, it was actually a good thing. The myriad clan religion was also something that humans could cultivate. However, this result could not be taken away by the Great Xia Mansion. Otherwise, it would be a big trouble. P.S. Double the monthly vote on the last day. Brothers, vote for some monthly votes. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 934. Chapter 934, Chapter 230 Xuanwu Heqiao Method 1. Great Xia Institute of Civilization. Not long after Su Yu returned, the news of him being attacked spread in a circle with a wide range of sources. Primordial Spirit Research Institute. The few of them were also from a wide range of sources. Jiang Mu frowned and said, Are these people from the religion of 10,000 races getting bolder and bolder? I'm not sure if they're from the Myriad Clan sect. Su Yu smiled and comforted him, It's fine. They're not injured anyway. Wuxia said angrily, Junior brother, you have to ask Master and Grandmaster to come out. Otherwise, those bastards will keep an eye on you. Junior brother, it's just a small matter. Su Yu chuckled and said, It's really fine. I didn't even see what happened when Xia Huyo's people killed him with a snap. As he said that, he sighed and said, Xia Huyo said that he's a branch of the Xia family. I really don't believe it. There's even a mountain and sea Dao protector. Hu Qiusheng's gaze was strange. You really don't know? Xia Huyo wasn't a branch of the Xia family. He was ordered around like a grandson by you. He wasn't even sure if Su Yu knew about this. As for the matter of Su Yu being attacked, he hadn't received any news yet. After listening for a while, he said, "Be careful recently. If there's nothing else, don't go out." "I know." Su Yu smiled and said, "I'm not ready to go out either." "Oh right, everyone is here. Let's not talk about this nonsense. Help me check something." As he said that, Su Yu described it and said, "There's a type of grass. It has 3 leaves, and its leaves are bluish." 3 leaves are bluish? You mean the celestial flower? Su Yu was stunned. "How did you know about this?" Wulan looked at Wulan proudly and said proudly, "What? I've only seen this kind of flower before. It has 3 leaves that are bluish. In the end, the celestial flower will bloom. It looks pretty good. Do you have a picture? I'll go and look for it. There should be one in the Encyclopedia of Plants." Wulan ran upstairs and quickly took out a large book and handed it to Su Yu. "There are 12 in the Encyclopedia of Plants. I've only read a few. Take a look for yourself. Is it this one?" Su Yu flipped through it and quickly saw the introduction of the star flower on a page. The picture was the kind of grass that he saw in the memory fragment. Su Yu looked at the main producing area and quickly frowned. The range was relatively large. 7 or 8 large manors all had this kind of grass. The Great Xia manors actually also had it. There were several large manors nearby. The Great Ming manors, the Great Shang manors, the Great Xia manors. While Su Yu frowned, he also roughly confirmed that it should be near the Great Xia manors. In other areas, this kind of star flower almost did not exist. At least, it narrowed the area. Su Yu did not say much and quickly said, "There's another kind of tree. There's a kind of fruit growing there. The fruit looks a little like a watermelon. The fruit is very big and has stripes." He introduced it again. Wulan was like a student and quickly answered, I know. It's definitely a 9-stripes fruit tree. Does the fruit have 9 stripes? Su Yu was a little stunned when he saw her smug look. "Amazing, you even know how to answer first. Do you think that I'm testing your knowledge reserves?" Su Yu did not say much and quickly said, "Where can I find such a fruit tree?" "The Great Ming Mansion, the Great Xia Mansion, and the Great Shang Mansion all have it. Other places do not produce it." "Amazing!" Su Yu praised. He continued, "There's also a type of tree that does not bear fruit." Before he could finish, Wulan hurriedly said, "If you answer all of them correctly, will there be a reward?" "Do you think I'm playing with you?" Su Yu was speechless. He felt helpless in his heart, but he said with a smile, "Yes. I'll continue to come up with questions. If you answer 5 questions correctly, you'll be rewarded with a god's aperture." Everyone looked at him. Su Yu's face was calm. He said calmly, "Employee reward. Don't look at me like that. As a newly opened research institute, we're short of money, but we're not short of money either. In order to motivate the employees, we sometimes do some interesting quizzes and answers. If you answer correctly, there will naturally be a reward." Wulan did not pay much attention to it and said in surprise, "Reward God's aperture. A God's aperture that can be opened at this stage?" "Yes." Then quickly come up with a question. Hu Qiusheng and the others were tired. "Don't you care where his God's aperture opening method came from?" "Alright, you really don't seem to care." This time, Zheng Yunhui, Hu Qiusheng, Jiang Mu, and the others were no longer relaxed. They were all focused and looked at Su Yu. F***ck. If you had told us earlier, we would have answered first. Su Yu smiled and continued, "It's a kind of tree. It doesn't bear fruit, but it's very tall, about 7 to 8 meters. The leaves are very big, like lotus leaves. There are 3 kinds." Hu Qiusheng was in a hurry to interrupt. Before he could finish, Wulan screamed, I know. Lotus leaf sandalwood, blue maple birch, cloud leaf wood, which one are you talking about? Are there spots on the trunk? No. Su Yu was stunned. Wulan quickly asked, are the leaves blue? I don't think so. That's lotus leaf sandalwood. Wulan quickly said, it's produced in the three manners of Great Zhou, Daming, and Shan. Su Yu blinked and looked at Hu Qiusheng. Hu Qiusheng nodded helplessly. I know this too. Wulan interrupted him. Su Yu smiled. Then where is the place with lotus leaf sandalwood, heavenly star flower, and 9 stripes fruit tree? Daming Mansion. Wulan continued to answer and quickly said, Daming Mansion has it. I also know the place. It's not far from the Great Xia Mansion. Yes, it's not far from your southern Yuan. It's called Starfall Mountain. Wulan was very proud. I got it right. For questions. Continue. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 935. Chapter 935, Chapter 230 Xuanwu Heqiao Method 2. Su Yu did not say anything. F***ck. I was just casually asking. Did he determine the location? Starfall Mountain. Wulan, how do you know so much? Wulan was proud, and delighted. She said somewhat reservedly, it's average. I like to look at these flowers and plants. In the past, I only looked at these when I had nothing to do. It's much better than looking at demonic beasts. In other words, don't ask me about demonic beasts. I don't know anything about them. Is Mount Xinglua big? It's very big. Wulan hurriedly said, is that a problem? Do you want to talk about the specific area? Mount Xinglua. I'll have to look through some information to find out. As she said that, she was about to run over to look for information when Jiang Mu said with a smile, Mount Xinglua has a main branch and 6 branches. It's about 350 miles further south from southern origin. It can be considered as the boundary of a large manor. The mountain range is undulating, and it's a little dangerous. There are some wild demonic beasts, bandits, and even members of the 10,000 races lurking in the mountains. Wu Lan's face was filled with grief and indignation. This is my question. You're the first to answer. Su Yu's heart stirred slightly. There were members of the 10,000 races living in the mountains, the Heavenly Divine sect? Could it be that this great sect was originally near the Great Xia Manor? That's right. The entire sect had entered the Great Xia Manor and attacked it. With so many people, it was impossible for them to rashly come. Even if they did come, it should be very fast. Perhaps the other party's base was not far from the Great Xia Manor. Starfall Mountain did not care about the area. Su Yu was really a little surprised. He did not expect to confirm the location so quickly. Talent. Everyone in this research institute was a talent, except for the silly and confused Xing Yunhui and the mysterious senior sister. These two didn't interrupt from the beginning to the end. It was really tragic. Su Yu was pleasantly surprised and quickly said, then what is the highest danger level? At this moment, Hu Qiusheng looked at him in surprise. He seemed to vaguely understand what he was doing. Su Yu seemed to be deducing a location. Starfall Mountain. Su Yu did not mind. Jiang Mu smiled and said, I'm not too sure about this, but usually it won't exceed mountain and sea. Mountain and sea is a high-level danger zone. Once there is a threat from mountain and sea, the various big manors will send people to eliminate it. Su Yu nodded. Perhaps he could go to Starfall Mountain to look for it later. He did not ask any more questions, but Wulan said with a depressed expression, you're not going to ask any more. Interesting question and answer was very interesting. Moreover, I only answered 4 questions correctly. There was still one more question. Only after I answered 5 correctly would I be rewarded with a God aperture activation method. Suyu smiled and said, then let me ask you another question. You and someone form a team and go out. There are people in the team who want to deal with you, but they don't dare to kill you. They're afraid that your great-aunt will seek revenge on her. How do you force her to take the initiative to attack you? Wu Lan blinked. This question was really difficult to answer. The others were deep in thought, but no one said anything. After a moment, Wu Lan hurriedly said, are you guys going out to look for treasure together? Or to deal with the enemy? Treasure hunting. Then get a big treasure. You and he both want it. With just the 2 of you together, he definitely won't be able to resist the urge to kill you. Then my backer will know and kill her. Wu Lan had a headache. Then I won't let your backer know. Or if he knows, there's no way to kill him. The others will prove that you died on your own. How will they prove it? Wu Lan was still thinking. Wu Qiusheng said with a faint smile, as long as the benefits are big enough, there's no need to prove it. It's fine as long as no one sees it. Let's see if the benefits are enough to move people's hearts. If it can move people's hearts, so be it. Who has evidence to prove that he killed her? Suyu nodded. The benefits must be big enough. Suyu thought for a moment and said, then to some people, what is the greatest benefit? If it's the myriad races, what they want most should be the ruins. Hu Qiusheng said with a smile, or something that can change the overall situation, such as the primordial spirit aperture that we have researched, the method to break through the unrivaled realm of civilized masters, or. He said a lot. Suyu nodded once more. Then what will the consequences be if I kill her instead? Be careful not to let her race take revenge on you. Be careful not to let the students of the myriad races hate you and unite against you. Hu Qiusheng smiled meaningfully, you can bring a few more students of the myriad races, kill some of them, rope in some of them, and let the humans prove themselves. It's meaningless. Split them internally and let them prove themselves that someone deserved to die. Different races have different interests. As long as you can satisfy the interests of some people, you can solve the dissatisfaction of others. In this way, let some of the students from the myriad races become the ones with vested interests. It's very simple to rope in and divide them. Suyu looked at him with a smile. Hu Qiusheng also looked at Suyu with a smile. Zheng Yunhui looked at the 2 of them and raised his head to look at the ceiling. Was it appropriate? The 2 of you were discussing openly, and you almost figured out how to trap and kill Xia Qing and the others. Was it really appropriate? And there were girls here. Didn't it seem like we were too sinister? Then, he looked at the 2 girls. Alright, you 2 continue. They didn't understand. You 2 continue to talk. These 2 girls thought that you were really discussing the problem. Suyu did not say anything more about this. Soon, he smiled and said, Wu Lan, you passed the test. 4 questions are already very impressive. You have also given us a train of thought for this question. I will reward you with a divine aperture activation plan. Keep up the good work and I will reward those researchers who have made outstanding contributions. Wu Lan was elated. There was a reward. She was even motivated to work. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 936. Chapter 936, Chapter 230, Shuangwu Joint Aperture Technique, 3. Suyu smiled and did not say anything else. The matter of the previous attack seemed to have been forgotten by everyone. Everyone tacitly agreed that it was Xia Huyo's men who killed the other party, and Suyu was fine. The matter of the attack on Suyu was considered a big matter, but it was not a big matter either. After all, nothing happened to Suyu. Instead, it was the 5 of them who died. The Great Xia mansion was investigating thoroughly, and the remaining 3 people were quickly dragged to the Myriad tribe pit to be beheaded. The exposed members of the Myriad clans didn't have much value in fishing. Under normal circumstances, the Great Xia mansion wouldn't stay for too long and be directly beheaded. Those who hadn't been exposed, and the members of the Myriad clans who had been secretly controlled, had the possibility of catching big fish. There was nothing unusual on Su Yu's side. It was just that there were some small rumors on the Great Xia Civilization Academy's side, and Su Yu and Zhang Hao from the Divine Talisman Academy were somewhat unhappy. The people who attacked Su Yu were actually from a branch of the Zhang family. What the Zhang family meant was that those people had ill intentions and weren't members of the 10,000 clans. In the end, they were beaten up by Su Yu and became members of the 10,000 clans. Not only did they fail to save their lives, they also caused the Zhang family's patriarch to be punished by the higher-ups. If it was purely because of money, it had nothing to do with the Zhang family. However, there was a small problem now. Although the Zhang family's patriarch had dealt with it immediately, it was said that Su Yu had falsely accused Xia Huyo in front of him, insisting that the other party was a member of the 10,000 clans. This caused a few people to be treated as members of the 10,000 clans, and they were directly killed. Su Yu no longer cared about all of this. After spreading some rumors, he no longer cared about these things. From the beginning to the end, his goal was not to kill anyone. It was to make himself stronger. As some of Xia Huyo's blood essence gradually arrived, Su Yu also began to rapidly try it out. He opened the manual and tried out the cultivation techniques. Not only were there cultivation techniques of the 10,000 races, but there were also some cultivation techniques of the human race. Su Yu was also willing to try them out. He had many openings, and he could try almost any ordinary cultivation technique. Almost all of them included those cultivation technique openings. Even if he was missing a few openings, Su Yu could at most open a few more. Opening a few openings was not difficult for Su Yu. He had cultivated the body strengthening technique, and his opening speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. November 15th. The 6th day after the establishment of the Research Institute. At this moment, Su Yu had opened 308 apertures. After trying all kinds of cultivation techniques, some of them did have some weak effects, causing the speed of his aperture synthesis to increase. Currently, Su Yu had already fused 4 apertures into 1. According to his previous estimation, he could only fuse 1 aperture in 3 days. It had only been a week, so he should have just finished fusing 2 apertures into 1 not long ago. However, he had to admit that there were still some cultivation techniques that could be accelerated. The human race's fusion technique and fusion technique both have some effects, so they can be considered pretty good supporting cultivation techniques. One has opened 15 apertures, and one has opened 24. The eagle race's dual pole break also has pretty good effects, opening 28. The red frog race's fusion technique also has some effects, opening 22. Su Yu evaluated these cultivation techniques that were helpful to the fusion of the apertures one by one and fell into deep thought. There were quite a number of cultivation techniques that were helpful to the fusion of the apertures. For example, if both bipolar severing and aperture synthesis technique were taken out and given to other people to cultivate, everyone would be very satisfied. The effects were not bad, and there were not many apertures either. It was much more useful than some cultivation techniques of the human race. At the very least, it could save everyone 1/3 of their time. But this was not what Su Yu wanted. It was too slow. The efficiency was too low. Save 1/3 of the time. No, this could not satisfy Su Yu's needs. It was best if it was a cultivation technique that could completely resolve the repulsion force and allow him to quickly close his aperture. This was a really good cultivation technique. A drop of golden blood appeared in his hand. This was the last race that he had not tried yet. The heavenly dragon race only had this drop of blood. It was at the 1,000-stone realm, and the price was frighteningly expensive. Suyu had purchased 3 drops of it for 300 merit points. This was the only one he had spent a total of 900 merit points on. Suyu knew the language of the dragon race. The heavenly dragon blood had only just arrived. I've tried dozens of cultivation methods, but some of them have no effect at all. I've tried dozens of 10,000 race cultivation methods, but there aren't many that have any effect. What about the heavenly dragon race? Suyu no longer hesitated and swallowed the blood essence in one gulp. With his current physical strength, he could actually try to swallow the soaring blood essence. The blood essence of the 10,000 stone realm didn't put too much pressure on him. Soon, a new page was opened. This meant that the heavenly dragon tribe had also killed him. In a dream. Until today, Suyu sometimes dreamed that there were 10,000 tribes chasing after him. However, it was very rare. From time to time, he would have a dream. Without thinking much, a new page was opened. Heavenly Dragon Tribe, 9,000 Stone Realm. Race Skills, Shatter, Blood Essence Activation, Dragon's Fury, Blood Essence Activation, Aperture Fusion, Blood Essence Activation. Basic Origin Technique, Heavenly Dragon Art, Blood Essence Activation. Suyu sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the first time he had encountered a race with so many race skills. There were a total of 6. He did not look at the last few but mainly looked at the Aperture Fusion. Was this a technique to fuse apertures? It was actually the other party's innate skill. This meant that the Heavenly Dragon race did not need to cultivate this technique at all. They did not even realize that they had this innate skill. Anyway, the Heavenly Dragon race only knew that it was very simple for them to fuse apertures. In their eyes, this might be their innate skill, not some innate skill, not some cultivation technique. The Heavenly Dragon tribe was born with this aperture fusing technique. Suyu was a little excited. It was one of the top 10 great tribes. Of course, the human tribe was special. Who among the other top 10 great tribes did not have something they were good at? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 937. Chapter 937, Chapter 230 Xuanwu Joint Aperture Technique 4. He still had 2 drops of blood essence. 1 drop was prepared to be used to open the aperture fusion technique, and the other was prepared to be used to open the basic elemental technique, Heavenly Dragon Technique. The top 10 great clans, their cultivation techniques were very strong, right? At least stronger than the body strengthening technique. Perhaps he could open 144 apertures. Without any hesitation, Suyu quickly swallowed a drop of blood essence. This time, he was going to open the aperture fusion technique. Blood essence devouring, innate skill activated. At this instant, Suyu noticed it. Within his body, 32 apertures had been opened. It was very secretive, and there were a total of 9 apertures that Suyu had never opened before. The instant these 32 apertures were opened, they rapidly formed a suppressive force, and it was also very secretive. However, Suyu did not care about this, and quickly began to attempt to close his apertures. This closing of his apertures made Suyu overjoyed. The repulsive force became smaller. No, it was suppressed by the force formed by the other 32 apertures. It suppressed the repulsive force. At least 2/3 of the repulsive force was suppressed. Suyu's heart was filled with joy. Suppressing 2/3 of the repulsive force, it was already very impressive. It was much stronger than the previous few sets of cultivation techniques. After this set of cultivation techniques was sorted out, it suppressed 2/3 of the repulsive force. This did not mean that he had saved 2/3 of the time needed to close his aperture. Instead, it meant that he had saved even more. Originally, the repulsive force was 3, and it would take 3 days to close one of his apertures. Now that the repulsive force was 1, it might only take half a day to close one of his apertures. As the repulsive force was smaller, the speed was faster, and it was easier. The amount of yuan qi and willpower expended was also reduced. Very good. Su Yu was elated. If he were to continue cultivating such a good cultivation technique, he felt that he would need at least 45 days to reach the first level of the consonant aperture realm. But now, it might only take half a month. After cultivating for about half an hour, the next moment, his blood essence was exhausted, and Su Yu did not care too much. The fifth aperture was about to be successfully opened. I still need to open 9 more apertures. Su Yu thought to himself, and suddenly, he quickly brought a few cultivation techniques with obvious effects in front of him and looked at them. He muttered, among these cultivation techniques, the one with the most openings is the one from the Heavenly Dragon tribe, and the one with the least openings is the Human's Aperture Integration technique. The maximum number of openings is 32, and the minimum number is 15. Looking at the other cultivation techniques, Su Yu's expression changed slightly. It wasn't obvious before, but after opening the joint aperture technique, Su Yu suddenly realized that these cultivation techniques had many overlapping openings. So, the openings that suppress the repulsive force are actually fixed. Some of the openings are ineffective, and some are effective. At the very least, the overlapping portions should all be effective. Su Yu quickly rummaged through all kinds of cultivation techniques. The cultivation techniques that he had tried before were as if he had discovered a treasure trove. He felt that he had discovered a new world. The repulsion force from closing the acupoints should be suppressed by some acupoints. Perhaps, a cultivation technique that is more suitable than the aperture fusing technique can be deduced. Under normal circumstances, 36 is the most suitable. However, the aperture fusing technique has only opened 32 acupoints, so it might not be the best. Perhaps there are some acupoints in the aperture fusing technique that aren't needed. For other cultivation techniques, there might be some acupoints that need to be replenished. Su Yu muttered as he fell into a frenzy. Cultivation techniques were created by humans and experts. It didn't mean that they were perfect. For example, Hu Qiusheng had improved a cultivation technique in the past, reducing an unnecessary acupoint. Su Yu had more things than the others. He had cultivated dozens of myriad clans' acupoint fusion techniques alone. Some of the acupoints were very mysterious, and even the humans would find it difficult to discover the existence of those acupoints. All of them had been opened by the Atlas. The current him could not be considered to have created his own cultivation technique. He was only doing some mending and improvement work. 3 to 4 hours later, Su Yu drew a diagram of a new cultivation method's acupuncture points on the blueprint. A diagram of opening 36 origin apertures. He found the overlapping acupuncture points and continuously tested the other acupuncture points, sensing the strength of the acupuncture points. He could feel some of the useless acupuncture points and eliminate them. In the end, he sorted out 36 acupuncture points. Including the aperture fusion technique, he eliminated a few useless acupuncture points. 36. According to the rules, this should be the most suitable method. 36 apertures, it shouldn't be difficult to deduce the operating plan. After all, the operating plans of these few sets of cultivation methods are almost the same. But, will there be any danger? Su Yu fell into deep thought. To be honest, although he was only checking for loopholes, this was after all the first brand new cultivation method that he had organized, and it did not operate according to the original cultivation method. If something went wrong, it would be troublesome if the acupoints self-destructed. After a long while, Su Yu's eyes flickered. Zhou Hao. Should he find a test subject to come in? Let him try it out. He had opened many acupoints. For this new 36 acupoints, that guy might have opened a few or more. Perhaps he was opening them now, and it might not take long for him to complete the opening of the acupoints and then try it out. As for him exploding, that was his business. To be honest, Suyu was still certain of it. However, he did not dare to let him try out the new cultivation technique that he had developed himself. After exploding 36 apertures, even if he did not die, he would still be bedridden for half a year. That guy Zhou Hao has cultivated the Thousand Mountains technique. Because the repulsive force is too great, it is almost impossible for him to successfully close the apertures. If this cultivation technique is really effective, for Zhou Hao, it is a life-changing event. And if it's effective for the Thousand Mountains technique, that means it's effective for everyone else. That would completely prove that this cultivation technique is feasible. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 938. Chapter 938, Chapter 230 Xuanwu Heqiao Method 5. In Su Yu's opinion, Zhou Hao was more suited to walk the path of a fighter. His willpower had improved a little last time, and he still hadn't recovered his character. This guy was only relying on his strong physical body now. In terms of willpower, even the intermediate class students despised him. In terms of willpower, his talent wasn't too strong, or it could be said that he had come into contact with it too late. His willpower was similar to Su Yu's, it was more tenacious, but it was too weak. That fellow is Xia Yuan's disciple. It won't be leaked out, right? Su Yu was a little worried about this problem again. Perhaps he could talk to Zhou Hao. He felt that Zhou Hao was a more suitable test subject. Perhaps he could try out his primordial spirit aperture in the future. This fellow's speed of opening his primordial spirit aperture was very fast. It was said that not long after he was discovered by Xia Yuan, he hadn't cultivated before. Very quickly, he opened 144 apertures and completed the cultivation of the Thousand Mountains technique. Xia Yuan was an unqualified teacher. If Zhou Hao was sent to Zhangjin College, even if he had to recultivate, it was very likely that he would be able to enter the 10,000 stone realm or soar into the sky. In the end, Xia Yuan brought him to the Great Xia Civilization Academy, wasting his talent. Many people felt pity for him, but he was Xia Yuan's student, so no one interfered. This guy, if I really send him to Zhangjin College, he might be the next Huang Teng. Huang Teng, the genius of Great Xia's Zhangjin College. The genius who beat up Bai Feng several times. Su Yu had heard this name from others. He was already a powerhouse at the Lingyun realm and was no longer in the college. He had heard that he had gone to the front line and was fighting on the battlefield of the heavens. As he thought of this, Su Yu's eyes flickered for a while, and he went to talk to Zhou Hao. As for Su Yu himself, there's no need for him to take the risk. Only the heavens will know if my deduction is correct. If there's a conflict, what should I do if my acupoints explode? Perhaps, I can ask Zhao Laoshi to analyze the situation and make sure that it is safe. After which, I will ask Zhou Hao to test the effects. I am a loyal person. If you want to change your fate, how can you not take the risk? Whether you agree to it or not depends on you, Zhou Hao. Su Yu felt that he would most likely agree to it. That fellow was indeed a vicious person. A new cultivation technique has been released. The supporting technique of the consonant aperture realm should be given a name. Su Yu rubbed his chin and pondered for a moment before chuckling. With a wicked tone, he said, it should be called the Dual Wu Consonant Aperture Realm Technique. If Senior and Wulan were to find out about it, I'm afraid that they would be very happy. They would probably wish to work for free for the rest of their lives. Su Yu had some understanding of these two. He had to lift them up. He had to coax them. He had to lift them up. He had to make them feel that they were very powerful, and very important. Even if they were to work for him for free, they would still feel happy in their hearts. They would wish to work for free for the rest of their lives. A cultivation technique that could be passed down to the entire human realm and change the entire realm of fighters was called the Dual Wu Acupoint Fusion Technique. How could this be? These two would probably laugh until they went crazy. As Su Yu thought about it, he laughed. Am I too bad? It's fine if they don't pay for their work, but they still have to pay for it. It's fine if they pay for it, but they still have to make them work for free willingly. Sigh, even I can't stand it. Everything is for the rise of the human race. Su Yu muttered to himself. It's all for the sake of the human race. As scientific researchers, we have to have such faith. Work for free, and pay for it. I won't do it anyway, as long as senior sister and Wulan are willing. In fact, for a cultivation technique to let them work for free for a lifetime, it should be worth it in the eyes of countless people. It's too precious. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 939. Chapter 939, Chapter 231, one set after another one. Zhao Li's Research Institute. Su Yu was here again. Zhao Li did not waste any time. The moment he arrived, he immediately closed the door and activated the restriction to prevent prying. Speak, what's the matter? One should not visit the Three Treasures Hall for no reason. Unless Su Yu had something to do, he would not come to his place. However, Zhao Li actually admired this point and did not feel that it was inappropriate. Why would he come to my place for no reason? To get close to him? Who doesn't have time to spare? Why don't you go read a book and cultivate if you have nothing to do? Teacher, let me ask you a question. What is the realm of your physical body? Ling Yun, what is it? Zhao Li replied casually, the path of the warrior, soaring through the sky to cleanse the marrow and change the bones. Ling Yun's origin qi is 9 transformations. My origin qi is now 8 transformations, so I can be considered to be at the 8th level of Ling Yun. He was at the 8th level of Ling Yun's physical body, but civilized masters usually did not care about this. Therefore, to outsiders, he was still at the 7th level of Ling Yun. Teacher, doesn't that mean that you are about to enter the mountain and sea realm? Su Yu asked in surprise, why don't you put more effort into your physical body and enter the mountain and sea realm directly? Zhao Li said unhappily, how could I have the time and energy? Do you think that everyone is the same as me, with the same physical body and willpower? I've been stuck in Ling Yun for many years and only managed to reach the 8th change in my physical body. Back then, Ling Yun was only at the 9th level, and my physical body had just entered Ling Yun's body. As he spoke, he continued, furthermore, I didn't care about my physical body in the past. There were too few converging apertures, and the 8 apertures combined into one, allowing me to enter 10,000 stones. Now, my apertures have yet to return to 1, and my apertures have yet to return to 1. Under such a chaotic situation, it's almost impossible for me to enter the converging apertures of the mountain and sea. Su Yu had roughly guessed the situation and asked on purpose. At this moment, he said mysteriously, Teacher, I have a way for you to enter the mountain and sea, and enter your physical body. Oh. Zhao Li looked at him and stroked his beard. You've gotten your primordial spirit orifices? No. Then how do I enter? I've gotten the fusion orifices technique. Su Yu smiled smugly and said, the Primordial Spirit Research Institute has been listed for a week. The results are out. The fusion orifices technique is out. Zhao Li was not interested and said speechlessly, I know this. There are many people in the convergence technique assembly. It's not that kind of trash that is commonly seen on the market. Yes, that was trash. If you speed up a little bit, you will still have to open your aperture. It might not be worth it. The extra time you have to open your aperture might be able to help you make up for the acceleration time. It would not have much effect. This was also the reason why many people weren't interested in the common acupoint fusion technique on the market. Zhao Li looked at him with a haughty tone. He had learned some of the cultivation techniques on the market, and it had to be said that even though the effects were average, there was still some acceleration effect. This fellow wasn't interested in them. Furthermore, even though those acupoint fusion techniques were common, they weren't common either. Most people wouldn't have the chance to learn them even if they wanted to. On the other hand, Suyu had gotten Hu Qiuxing to obtain them, and the Hu clan had the capital to do so. It's true, teacher. I've compiled dozens of acupoint synthesis techniques and deduced them myself. In the current world, there is only one acupoint synthesis technique that can open 36 acupoints. All of the acupoints are useful, and there isn't a single excess. Suyu was extremely proud of himself. This was the first time that he had deduced a cultivation technique. Even though it was just a piece of the puzzle, it was still an ability, wasn't it? Zhao Li was speechless. Are you serious? How was the effect? I've never tried it before. Zhao Li was very tired. Haven't you King tried it before? You're bragging to me. Bragging your ass. I casually took out a bunch of cultivation techniques with 36 apertures, and I also said that they were compatible with each other. Do you believe me? If it wasn't for the fact that this kid was still rather reliable, he would have beaten him away with a random stick. Really? Suyu saw that he didn't trust him. He hurriedly said, I didn't make the first version, but a modified version. I've tried many versions, and the last version was the best one, with 32 apertures opened. The effect of the compatibility is very good, and it can almost suppress 2/3 of the repulsive force. Really? Zhao Li didn't believe that it could suppress 2/3 of the repulsive force. Suppress 2/3 of the repulsive force. The human race doesn't have this cultivation technique, and neither do the 10,000 races. Of course, some races have this talent, and their innate apertures have less repulsive force. For example, the Heavenly Dragon race. In his opinion, this was a natural talent. Even the Heavenly Dragon race thought so. This was a talent. It had nothing to do with cultivation techniques. Even if they didn't have cultivation techniques, they didn't have any cultivation techniques in this area. As for the Atlas, it was truly terrifying. To turn this kind of talent into a cultivation technique, one had to have an extremely deep understanding of the Heavenly Dragon tribe. For example, if one dissected tens of thousands of heavenly dragons, there might be some discoveries. Sometimes, Suyu even wondered if the previous owner of the Atlas had dissected the myriad tribes countless times. Otherwise, how could he have dissected so many things? Seeing that Zhao Li was doubtful, Suyu didn't say anything else and quickly took out a book. Currently, I haven't formed a complete cultivation technique. It only points to the cultivation method. Teacher, I deduced the method of operation and the related method myself. Can you help me take a look? Sure. Zhao Li didn't waste any time and directly entered the depths of the research institute. In the next moment, he brought out a puppet. Suyu was slightly taken aback. Zhao Li said casually, I destroyed the model I made previously. A model that involves the Sea of Will is actually not easy to simulate, but when it involves the essence aperture, this is a little simpler. Over the past few days, I have created a model that has multiple essence apertures. As he said that, he stuffed a few drops of Yuan Qi liquid into the top of the model's head and quickly said, point out the essence aperture. I have all the common essence apertures here. Run it according to your method. I'll try to see how the effect is. Suyu sighed. Amazing. Even this can work.